Tatturflagg by Justin Smith. Chapter 1. Shackles and Storms. The stench of rotting fish clung to everything. It coated the deck, soaked the tattered rags the slaves wore, and filled their lungs with every exhausted breath. Kaptin Tatturflagg slammed his calloused hands onto the slick wooden rail, his broad shoulders rising and falling as he sucked in the salty air. His grey skin, scarred from years of beatings, was caked in sweat and grime. He wasn't always a slave. Before the shackles, before the Wayfarer's bounty, Kaptin had been a warrior, a chieftain's son of the Stonejaw Clan. Their stronghold lay in the northern isles, where waves battered the cliffs and wind howled through the stone. The Stonejaw were raiders, strong as the tides, and for decades they had resisted the Vesperian Empire. But empires were patient. Empires were relentless. When Kaptin was 20 summers old, the Empire came for them. They did not arrive with banners or proclamations. They came in the dead of night, their warships silent on the waves. The Stonejaw stronghold burned before Kaptin even lifted his axe. He had fought alongside his kin, cutting down invaders with fury, but the Empire did not fight fairly. They fought with fire, steel, and treachery. When the battle was lost, Kaptin had been bound in chains, his fate sealed as another beast of burden for the Empire's insatiable war machine. That was years ago. Now he was just another piece of cargo on a slaver's ship. Beyond the ship, the sea stretched endless and unbroken, shimmering under the oppressive sun. The Vesperian Empire ruled these waters with an iron grip, its mighty navy patrolling the sea to maintain dominion over trade, conquest, and subjugation. Its banners, a black sun emblazoned on a crimson field, fluttered from the masts of the warships that prowled the shipping lanes. Somewhere on the horizon, beyond the Empire's grasp, lay the Free Isles, a collection of pirate havens, smuggler ports, and lawless refugees, where those who had fled Vesperian rule eked out a living. Places like Rustwood Cove, Black Reef, and the Stormgate were whispered of in the dark corners of taverns. They were the last bastions of true freedom, but they were also dangerous, full of cutthroats and schemers as treacherous as the Empire itself.
Keep moving, Orc. Any slower, and you'll be chum for the gulls.
The crack of a whip followed the shout. Kaptin didn't flinch. He knew the sound well, had felt its bite across his back more times than he cared to count. He shifted his gaze to the source of the voice, a wiry human overseer named Braddock, his leather whip still coiled in one fist, a cruel smirk curling his lips. Braddock always enjoyed his work too much. The Wayfarer's bounty was a fishing vessel by name, but for the slaves that worked its decks, it was a floating prison. Orcs, goblins, and even a few desperate humans had been shackled into servitude, hauling heavy nets and gutting fish from sunup to sundown. The human crew ate well while the slaves survived on scraps. Any that slowed down felt the lash. Kaptin clenched his fists, the muscles in his arms tightening. He had seen plenty of orcs break under this life. They worked until their bodies failed, and then they were tossed overboard like useless cargo. He refused to die like that. He glanced toward Hammerstack. The goblin was watching, wide-eyed, hands twitching. If it came to a fight, would he join in? Would the others? Kaptin couldn't afford to hesitate. He had to move first. Across the deck, Hammerstack, the scrawny goblin with grease-stained fingers, was struggling with a tangled net, his tiny hands barely able to pry the ropes apart. Braddock noticed.
Useless little rat!
Braddock snarled, stalking toward him. Hammerstack's oversized ears flattened against his skull as he worked faster, but the knots only tightened. Braddock's whip cracked. Hammerstack barely had time to yelp before pain lanced through his arm. He clutched the fresh welt, forcing himself not to snarl. Goblins who talked back didn't last long on ships like this. Then a deep voice cut through the morning air.
That ain't necessary.
Kaptin Tatturflagg. Hammerstack dared to glance up. The orc wasn't just big, he was solid, like a storm-weathered boulder that refused to crack. The other slaves kept their heads down, but not Captain. He stood tall, eyes locked on Braddock. Braddock smirked, raising the whip again.
Oh? And who's gonna stop me? You!
Captain didn't answer. He simply stepped forward, his stance wide, his muscles coiled like a storm ready to break. Braddock's smirk faltered. Just for a second. Then the ship lurched. A wave slammed against the hull, sending seawater washing over the deck. Braddock stumbled, cursing. The moment passed, but Captain saw what he needed to. The overseer wasn't steady on his feet. Not like an orc. Not like a man who had spent his whole life at sea. Captain slowly turned back to his work, forcing his hands onto the tangled net Hammerstack had been struggling with. But his mind was already working. He didn't just want revenge. He wanted off this ship. And if he had to burn it to the waterline to be free, so be it. The night air was thick with the brine of the sea, the only breeze coming from the slow sway of the ship against the current. The Wayfarer's bounty creaked like an old man's bones, its wood swollen and weary from years of salt and toil. The human crew slept soundly in their quarters, while the slaves were chained beneath the deck, crammed together like cattle. Captain sat in the dim lantern glow, his broad back pressed against the hull. His wrists were raw from the iron shackles, but his mind was sharper than ever. He wasn't thinking about tomorrow's labor. He was thinking about how to never see another sunrise aboard this cursed vessel. Hammerstack walked over and sat beside Captain in the damp confines below deck, rubbing his aching arm.
You didn't have to do that.
Captain grunted, eyes half-lidded with exhaustion.
Didn't do it for you. Did it 'cause I don't like the way Braddock swings his whip.
Hammerstack chuckled, the sound rough in his throat.
Aye, well, you've earned yourself one goblin who owes you.
Captain smirked, but said nothing. He wasn't the type to collect debts, but he appreciated loyalty. And Hammerstack? He seemed like the kind of goblin who survived because he knew when to pick a side. That might come in handy. Silence stretched between them. The ship groaned, rocking with the waves. A few of the other slaves snored softly, exhausted beyond measure. Then Hammerstack leaned in.
I've been watching.
He whispered. Captain raised an eyebrow.
That so?
Hammerstack nodded, glancing around to make sure no one was listening.
This ship, it's old. Too old for the weight it's carrying. See, they reinforced the top deck after last winter, but they didn't fix the hull proper. Cheap bastards didn't want to dry dock it, so they just patched it from the outside.
He tapped his temple.
But I know things about ships, and I know that if you hit a weak spot just right,
It'll break.
Captain finished. Hammerstack grinned, sharp teeth glinting in the lantern light.
might not sink her, but it'd give us chaos, and chaos is good for slaves like us.
Captain leaned his head back against the wall, considering. A ship this size needed order to function. Without it, Things fell apart fast. If they broke the hull, they'd get water pouring in, maybe not enough to sink the ship outright, but enough to send the human crew into a panic. Enough to give them a chance. He glanced at the Goblin.
Got an idea how to do it?
Hammerstack nodded.
If I can get my hands on some of the iron nails from the broken crates in the storage hold, I could rig up something nasty.
He wiggled his fingers.
Not much to work with, but I ain't a goblin for nothing.
Captain smirked. A plan. A real, solid plan. It wasn't much, but it was better than waiting for the lash to carve them down to nothing. He cracked his knuckles and let out a low chuckle.
All right, Gob. Let's break this ship.
Captain sat with his back against the hull, staring into the dim lantern glow. The plan was solid. As solid as any plan could be when you were working with rotting wood, stolen nails, and a handful of half-starved prisoners. But plans didn't win battles. People did. He rubbed his wrists absent-mindedly, feeling the raw skin where the shackles had eaten through flesh. They had been tight when they first put them on. They weren't anymore. He had lost weight, strength. He wasn't the warrior he had once been. Would it be enough? A few feet away, Hammerstack muttered to himself, tracing patterns in the grime on the floor. The Goblin had a quick mind, sure, but he was nervous, twitchy. A man like that didn't live long unless he knew when to run. Captain hoped he wouldn't bolt when things got bad. Across the hold, an older orc sat slumped against the wall, eyes closed. Bram One Tusk. He had been aboard longer than Captain, long enough for his once black hair to streak with grey. Once Bram had led his own warband, raiding Empire-controlled waters. That was before they caught him. Before they broke him. Bram didn't talk much. Didn't fight much either. Not anymore. Captain shifted, watching the rise and fall of the old orc's chest. Bram had been strong once. Strong enough to make the Empire fear his name. Now he wouldn't even lift his head. This could be me, Captain realized. He exhaled, rolling his shoulders against the wooden planks. His mind was set. No more waiting. No more rotting away like some broken animal. He turned his gaze toward the sliver of moonlight peeking through the cracks in the hull. Somewhere beyond that wood, the sea was waiting, and he was going to take it back. Dawn painted the sky in murky streaks of grey and gold. Another cursed day aboard the Wayfarer's bounty. Captain hauled a net from the sea, his muscles burning from the strain. Cold water sloshed over his feet, mixing with blood and fish guts on the deck. The stink was unbearable, but he had long since learned to ignore it. Across from him, Hammerstack scurried between barrels, slipping rusted nails and broken metal scraps into his ragged pockets. Every piece mattered. They were getting close. Then it happened. The youngest orc among them, barely more than a whelp, stumbled. His knees hit the deck with a sickening crack. The heavy net he had been carrying collapsed beside him, spilling writhing fish across the wood. For a second, there was only silence. Then,
You lazy mongrel!
Braddock's voice cut through the morning like a blade. The overseer stormed across the deck, the ever-present whip already in hand. The boy tried to push himself up. The whip cracked. A single sharp cry rang out before the boy crumpled. Blood smeared the wood. The other slaves didn't dare move. Braddock sneered, raising the whip again.
Get up, you worthless cur!
Captain's chains rattled as he took a step forward.
Leave 'em be.
Captain rumbled. Braddock scoffed.
Or what?
Captain's muscles coiled, but he didn't move. Not yet. Braddock hadn't swung the whip. Not yet. He wanted to. Captain could see it in the way the overseer's fingers twitched, how his stance shifted just slightly to brace his weight. Braddock wasn't a trained fighter, but he knew how to hurt people. That was enough to make him dangerous. Captain had seen plenty of men like him before. Men who had never known a fair fight. Braddock's smirk widened, his confidence bolstered by years of obedience from slaves, too broken to fight back. He lifted the whip just an inch higher. Captain noted his stance. Back foot heavy, chest open. Whip too loose in his grip. A coward's stance. He could end this in 3 moves. Step forward, grab the wrist. Twist. Break it. If Braddock resisted, Captain would headbutt him hard enough to shatter bone. Braddock's lips curled.
You gonna do something, orc?
Captain didn't answer. The air tightened, the moment stretching between them, like the pull of a tide before a wave crashes. Braddock's knuckles flexed. Captain moved. His shackled hands shot forward, grabbing Braddock's wrist before the whip could fall again. The overseer yelped, twisting, but Captain's grip was iron. Braddock sneered. Oh.
You! Let go of me, you beast!
Captain squeezed. There was a sickening crunch. Braddock screamed. The whip fell to the deck. Every slave on board froze, eyes wide, breath held. The human crew snapped their heads toward the commotion, scrambling from their lazy perches. Captain wasn't done. With a single brutal movement, he yanked Braddock forward and slammed his thick forehead into the overseer's skull. Bone met bone with a dull crack. Braddock went limp, his body crumpling like a sack of wet grain. Silence. Then, a laugh. A low, dangerous chuckle from Hammerstack. The Goblin grinned wide.
Well, guess we're doing this now.
Chaos erupted. A heartbeat of silence stretched across the deck. Then someone yelled.
He's killed Braddock. The orc's gone mad.
The spell was broken. The human crew surged forward, drawing cutlasses and belaying pins, their boots pounding against the slick wood. The slaves hesitated, unarmed, shackled. But Captain didn't wait. He grabbed Braddock's fallen whip, wrapping it tight around his fist. The overseer's blood was still fresh on the leather.
Now or never, lads.
Captain roared. The youngest orc, the one Braddock had beaten, was the first to move. He bared his tusks, grabbed a loose length of chain, and swung it wide. It crashed into the knee of the nearest human sailor, sending him toppling with a howl. That was all it took. The slaves exploded into motion. Hammerstack darted between legs, slashing at ankles with a jagged piece of iron. Big Mogram, a towering orc who had been half dead from exhaustion just minutes before, grabbed a wooden crate and hurled it like a boulder, sending 2 men sprawling. The deck became a battlefield, bodies colliding, weapons flashing in the lantern glow. The taste of salt and blood thickened the air. Captain didn't fight like a slave. He fought like a war chief. He lashed out with Braddock's whip, wrapping it around a sailor's throat before yanking him forward into a brutal headbutt. Bone cracked. Another man lunged with a dagger. Captain caught his wrist mid-strike and twisted hard, snapping it with a sickening crunch. The dagger fell, and Captain drove his knee into the man's ribs, sending him sprawling across the deck. And then, thunder. The sky had darkened, the sea turning from dull blue to an angry slate grey. The wind howled through the rigging, making the sails snap like gunfire. Fat raindrops pelted the deck, washing away blood and sweat. The ship pitched violently, sending both slaves and slavers stumbling. The chaos of battle now mingled with the fury of the storm. Hammerstack skidded to Captain's side, breathing hard.
Storm's coming in fast, boss. The ship ain't built for it.
Captain nodded, grabbing a fallen cutlass from the deck.
Even better.
The storm would do half their work for them. A gust of wind sent barrels rolling across the deck, slamming into sailors and knocking some clean off their feet. The slaves had numbers, but the crew had weapons and training. If the fight dragged on too long, they'd be overwhelmed. But a ship caught in a storm? That was different. Captain turned to the others.
To the helm.
He bellowed.
We take the wheel. We take the ship.
Avilam sakitota a eget. For a moment, the deck of the Wayfarer's Bounty was bathed in stark white light. Figures locked in brutal combat, rain hammering down, seawater surging over the rails. Then, the darkness swallowed them again, broken only by the flashing of steel and the screams of dying men. Kaptin Tatturflagg fought his way through the chaos, carving a path toward the helm. The ship pitched violently, nearly throwing him to the deck, but he kept moving. He had spent his whole life on the sea. He belonged here. The humans didn't. A sailor lunged at him, cutlass raised. Captain caught the blade on his shackles, twisting hard. The man's wrist snapped. He barely had time to cry out before Captain drove his stolen cutlass into his gut and kicked him overboard. The storm answered with a deafening roar as the waves swallowed another body.
Keep pushing.
He roared. Big Mogram, bleeding from a gash across his forehead, grabbed a human by the throat and hurled him into the mast. The impact knocked the air from the man's lungs, leaving him crumpled on the deck. Nearby, Hammerstack darted up the rigging like a rat, tossing makeshift explosives into the fray. Small bursts of fire and smoke sent the remaining sailors into a panic.
Get those chains off.
Captain barked. One of the slaves, an old dwarf with a missing eye, snatched up a hammer from the deck and smashed the locks open. One by one the chains fell away, freeing the orcs, goblins, and humans alike. Now, they weren't slaves. Now, they were a crew. A wave crashed over the deck, nearly sweeping them all away. The ship groaned under the strain of the storm, its wooden bones creaking, its sails tearing like parchment. If they didn't take control now, they'd all drown, rebels and slavers alike. Captain turned his gaze toward the helm. Captain Varin, the man who had run this ship like a floating prison, stood clutching the wheel, his soaked uniform plastered to his frail frame. His eyes were wild with fear. He knew the ship was lost. Captain bared his tusks.
Get off my ship.
Varin's trembling fingers reached for the pistol at his belt. He never got the chance to use it. Captain lunged, crossing the distance in a single bound. His cutlass slashed through the storm-soaked air, cleaving clean through Varin's arm. The pistol clattered uselessly to the deck, followed by a choked scream. Varin stumbled backward, clutching the ragged stump where his arm used to be. His foot found empty air. And then he was gone, swallowed by the raging sea. For a moment, only the wind howled. Then, A ragged cheer rose from the freed slaves. The deck was theirs. The ship was theirs. Captain grabbed the wheel, rain streaming down his face, and turned to his new crew.
No more chains.
He growled.
No more masters.
The storm raged on, but for the first time in his life, he was free. The sea stretched endless before them. No banners of the empire, no slavers, no shackles. For the first time in years, Captain stood at the helm of a ship as a free orc. The wind pulled at his ragged shirt, the salt thick in his lungs, and the distant cry of gulls felt like laughter in his ears. The crew was quiet at first, as if none of them dared believe they had done it. The young orc, barely more than a whelp, clutched the chain he had used as a weapon, staring at his own hands in disbelief. A human woman, her wrists still raw from iron, let out a broken laugh and fell to her knees. Hammerstack was the first to move, snatching up a jug of rum from the captain's quarters and howling like a madman.
Holy shit, we did it!
He cackled, popping the cork and taking a long swig before passing it around.
We did it!
The tension snapped all at once. A cheer erupted raw and hoarse from every freed throat. Some grabbed what weapons they could and banged them against the rails, against the mast, against their own chains now lying discarded on the deck. No longer a slaver's ship, no longer a prison. Captain turned his face into the wind, feeling it roll over his scars. His father's voice echoed in his head. A warrior does not wait for freedom, boy. He takes it with his own hands. If only the old bastard could see him now. A voice called up from the deck.
Captain.
Captain turned. One of the goblins, a wiry thing missing most of his teeth, was staring up at him, wide-eyed. The goblin swallowed and rubbed the back of his neck.
So, what now?
The question rippled through the crew like a chill wind. The cheer died down, faces turning to their new captain. What now? Captain glanced at the horizon. Beyond the open water lay the free isles, the pirate havens, the last scraps of the world untouched by the Empire. They could be anything now. Anyone. He cracked his knuckles.
Now we sail.
A few voices cheered again. Hammerstack raised the rum jug.
Yeah, but, where to?
Captain opened his mouth. The ship rocked violently. A sharp gust of wind howled through the rigging, and suddenly the world dimmed. The bright afternoon light faded to a strange, sickly yellow. A cold drop of rain hit Captain's forehead. Another, then another. Something deep and dark loomed on the horizon. The wind groaned, the ocean churned. The first flash of lightning split the sky. And just like that, their freedom wasn't the only thing the sea had in store for them. Chapter 2. Shipwrecked Survivors. The world was nothing but shattered wood and screaming wind. Captain hit the water hard, the breath torn from his lungs as the sea swallowed him whole. Salt filled his mouth, burning his throat as he tumbled beneath the waves. He twisted in the current, fighting against the darkness threatening to drag him under. Somewhere above, lightning flashed, illuminating the wreckage of the Wayfarer's bounty as it broke apart in the storm. Captain gasped, gulping air just as another wave crashed over them. He fought against the current, his muscles burning with the effort. During his struggle, he spotted the lifeless body of Big Mogrim. All around them, figures bobbed in the water, some living, some not. Hammerstack clung to a floating barrel, coughing and sputtering.
The ship's gone!
The goblin wheezed, spitting out seawater. Captain spat as well, eyes scanning the chaotic waters. The last remains of the Wayfarer's bounty vanished beneath the waves, claimed by the storm. The ship was lost, but they weren't dead yet. Through the rain and foam, Captain spotted it, land. A jagged black mass rising from the sea, barely visible through the storm. It was close, but the waves were pulling them away.
Swim!
Captain roared.
Get to the island!
One by one, the survivors fought toward shore. Some vanished beneath the waves, claimed by exhaustion or the hungry depths. But Captain pushed forward, dragging Hammerstack along with him. His arms ached, his body screamed for rest, but he refused to die here. Not like this. The tide hurled them onto the shore like discarded wreckage. Captain's knees hit wet sand, his chest heaving as he forced himself upright. Around him, the others crawled onto land, coughing and gasping. They had survived. For the first time in days, Captain wasn't standing on wood. The sand beneath him was cold and coarse, sticking to his damp skin as he pushed himself onto his hands and knees, coughing seawater from his lungs. Each breath burned, raw and ragged, like someone had dragged a fishing hook down his throat. Around him, the others stirred, those who had survived. Hammerstack was the first to move, rolling onto his back with a groan.
That was awful.
He wheezed.
I want it on record. That was the worst thing I've ever done.
No record.
Captain muttered, voice hoarse.
No one left to write it.
Hammerstack let out a bitter chuckle and coughed up a mouthful of seawater.
Fair.
The boy, the youngest orc from the ship, had made it to shore as well. He lay on his side, shivering, arms curled around his chest, eyes open but unseeing. Shock. Captain pushed himself up, legs shaking beneath him. The wreckage of the Wayfarer's bounty littered the shallows, broken planks bobbing in the dark water like the ribs of a dying beast. Bodies too, some face down, some unmoving. Not everyone had made it. His fists clenched, but there was no time to mourn. Not yet. A few of the survivors managed to sit up, their eyes reflecting the moonlight. Some clutched wounds. Others simply stared at the sea, as if expecting it to take them back. Captain scanned the horizon. No sails, no empire. For the first time in years, they were free. A shaky laugh broke the silence. One of the humans, a lean man with a scarred cheek, ran a hand over his face, grinning like a madman.
We lived.
He muttered.
By the gods, we actually lived.
Hammerstack sat up with a wince, rubbing his temples.
Yeah. Not dead yet. But what now?
The question hung in the air, heavy and unanswered. Captain turned his gaze toward the tree line. Dense jungle, black cliffs, no sign of civilization. The wind carried the scent of salt and rot, but something else too. Burnt wood, smoke. He exhaled, rolling his shoulders.
We find shelter.
He said.
Then,
A sound. Distant. Low. Not the waves. Captain froze. The others noticed, heads snapping up, muscles tensing. The firelight reached them first, flickering orange through the trees, dancing like fireflies against the blackened cliffs. Then came the voices. Men, many, armed. The brief illusion of safety shattered. Hammerstack groaned.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
Captain bared his tusks. They had escaped one set of chains. Were they about to walk into another? The rain had stopped. Captain's wrists burned from the rough rope binding them. His ankles were tied just as tight, making the long walk up the jagged cliff slow and punishing. Around him, his crew trudged forward, bruised, battered, but alive. At least, those who had made it ashore. Torchlight flickered against the damp rock, illuminating the men who had captured them. Pirates. Their leathers were mismatched, their weapons rusted but deadly. Most of them bore scars, missing eyes, fingers, teeth. These were not the clean-cut naval officers of Vesperia. These were killers. At the head of the group, a thick, bearded man led the way, his peg leg clunking against the stone with each step. Hammerstack, tied beside Captain, eyed the man's wooden limb.
Bet he got a nasty case of termites in that thing.
Shut up, Goblin.
One of the pirates growled, shoving him forward. Captain gritted his teeth as the ropes cut into his wrists. Around him, his crew stumbled up the cliffs, their strength sapped by the storm and the sea. The pirates drove them onward with kicks and the occasional blow from a rifle butt. The torches cast flickering shadows on the damp rock, illuminating their captors, killers, smugglers, outlaws. And among them, a man who didn't quite fit the mold.
Would you look at this lot?
One of the pirates sneered.
Thought they were tough, huh? Now they're just fish bait that ain't drowned yet.
Aye.
Another laughed.
Let's see how tough they feel after a few days in the pit.
A third voice, gravelly and worn, grumbled.
They'll be dead in a week if you keep marching them like this.
The speaker walked near the rear of the group, his steps measured but not hurried. Unlike the others, he didn't wear mismatched scraps of stolen leathers. His boots were worn but well made, his heavy coat threadbare but once fine. Beneath the torchlight, his greying beard framed a weathered face, one that had clearly seen more storms than celebrations. Captain caught his eye as the man approached.
You looking to put us down fast? Or you just got a soft heart?
Captain asked, his voice a low growl. The older man snorted.
No soft hearts in Rustwood Cove, Orc. Just ones that ain't so quick to waste good bodies.
He eyed Captain's frame.
Crowley'll want to break you proper before he kills you. Best you save your strength.
Captain bared his tusks.
I ain't breaking.
The man huffed out something that might have been a laugh.
Then you're dying.
Captain studied him, narrowing his gaze. The way the man carried himself, the stiff posture, the slight but deliberate favouring of his left leg, spoke of an old soldier, not a common pirate. And he wasn't jeering with the others.
You were a Navy man.
Captain guessed. The pirate's lips curled in something that wasn't quite a smile.
Long time ago?
Now you're working for the bastards who'd gut a man for a bottle of rum.
A man does what he must to survive.
Captain scoffed.
Ain't much of a life if you gotta beg scraps from a bastard like Crowley.
For the first time, something flickered behind the man's eyes. But it was gone in a blink. He turned away, adjusting the belt slung over his shoulder.
Name's Grit.
He muttered.
And if you want to keep yours, you'd best learn when to keep your mouth shut.
Captain watched as Grit stepped ahead, resuming his place among the guards. The orc's mind was already working. That one, he wasn't like the others. The path led to an encampment of scrap and bone, half-built shanties, rotting ship hulls repurposed into huts, and crude wooden spikes lining the perimeter. Rustwood Cove. Captain had heard of it before. a dumping ground for pirates who weren't welcome anywhere else. At the center of it all, sitting atop a throne of stolen driftwood, was the man in charge, Captain Crowley. A towering brute of a man, wrapped in a patchwork coat of stolen silks. His beard was braided with human finger bones, his chest littered with old scars. At his side, a wicked cutlass rested across his knee. Crowley grinned, flashing yellowed teeth.
Well, well, fresh fish.
One of his men stepped forward.
Found 'em washed up on the east shore, Captain. Dunno where they came from, but they put up a fight.
Crowley snorted.
I bet. Ain't every day orcs and goblins fall out of the sky, and here I thought today was gonna be boring.
He leaned forward, locking eyes with Captain.
You, Grey One, you the leader.
Captain didn't answer. He just stared. Crowley smirked.
Yeah, thought so.
He turned to the others.
So what do we do with 'em, boys? Sell 'em? Eat 'em? Or just, dump 'em back in the sea?
The pirates laughed. Captain spoke.
You'll do none of those things.
The laughter stopped. Crowley raised an eyebrow.
That's so.
Captain stepped forward, rolling his shoulders against the ropes. His voice was low and steady.
This island's got too many dogs, and not enough wolves.
He tilted his head toward Crowley's men.
They follow you, 'cause there ain't no one meaner, ain't no one stronger.
He bared his tusks.
But there is now.
A hush fell over the camp. Then, Crowley grinned.
Well, shit.
He rose to his feet, cracking his knuckles.
I like you. You've got balls, orc.
He stretched his arms, rolling his neck.
But you ain't got a head for much longer.
He drew his cutlass.
Cut him loose.
Crowley ordered.
Let's see what this wolf can do.
The ropes fell away. Captain rolled his shoulders, shaking the stiffness from his limbs. The weight of the thick rope was gone, but the weight of 100 eyes pressed down on him. The pirates formed a loose ring around them, eager for blood, eager for a show. Some jeered, placing bets. Others just grinned, their fingers twitching over their weapons, waiting to see if they'd be needed when it was over. Because no one expected Captain to walk away from this. Crowley stretched his arms, rolling his neck. Loose, confident. A man who had killed enough times that it no longer meant anything. He was taller than most, built like a man who had spent his life swinging an axe, but now preferred a cutlass, faster, crueler. He took a slow step forward, spinning the cutlass lazily in his grip.
You know,
He drawled.
I once gutted a man for looking at me wrong.
Captain didn't move. Crowley grinned, pointing his blade at him.
And you? You think you can stand where I stand? Take my place? Tell me, orc, what makes you different from the last poor bastard who thought he could take my throne?
Captain exhaled slowly, his breath steady. He let the question hang there, unanswered. Let the silence stretch. Crowley's smirk twitched, just a little. He had expected bravado, a threat, maybe even a plea. But Captain gave him nothing. The crowd, sensing the shift, leaned in closer. Crowley stepped forward again, slow and deliberate. He pretended to lower his guard, gesturing loosely with his blade.
You sure you don't want to run?
Crowley mocked.
I'll give you a head start.
A few of the pirates laughed. Captain just rolled his shoulders.
You talk a lot for a man about to lose.
Crowley's grin widened. Then he moved. The crowd howled as he lunged. Captain dodged the first slash, twisting away from the cutlass's edge. Crowley was fast for his size, all raw strength and vicious instinct. No wasted movement, no hesitation. A killer. Captain grinned. So was he. The crowd surged around them, pirates howling for blood. Captain Crowley spat into the dirt, gripping his cutlass with white-knuckled fury.
You want to die today, Orc?
Captain cracked his neck.
I ain't dying, but you are.
Crowley lunged. The fight wasn't clean. It wasn't a duel. It was a brawl. Crowley was fast. Captain was brutal. He dodged the first cut, caught the second on his shackled wrist, then drove his skull into Crowley's nose. Crack! Crowley staggered. Blood streamed down his face. Captain didn't stop. He grabbed the pirate by the throat, lifted him clean off the ground, then slammed him into the mud with bone-breaking force. The crowd roared. Crowley gasped, blinking red and dazed. Captain crouched down, gripping the cutlass from his slackened fingers. A pause. Then, a single, brutal slash. Crowley's head rolled onto the dirt. Silence. Captain exhaled slowly, wiping blood from his face. Then he turned to the pirates, resting Crowley's cutlass against his shoulder.
This is my island now.
The first pirate knelt, then another, then more. Two figures remained standing. One was a grizzled, one-eyed man, arms crossed, a rusted flintlock at his hip. His coat was ragged but well kept, his boots polished. He studied Captain with the calm patience of a man who had outlived many captains. The other was a lean woman with sea-dark hair, her blue eyes sharp. Unlike the others, she didn't look afraid. She looked curious. The one-eyed man was the first to speak.
Well, shit.
He smirked, flashing gold teeth.
Ain't every day a new captain crawls out of the sea.
Drake, Crowley's first mate. A survivor. A man who had lived through more mutinies than most men lived through storms. Captain met his gaze.
You got a problem with me?
Drake grinned.
Not if you got a plan.
The woman beside him tilted her head.
And a ship.
Drake motioned to her.
This here's Ravenna Tideborn, best navigator we got.
Captain studied her.
You work for Crowley?
Ravenna ran a finger along the damp wood of a nearby pillar. She glanced up, meeting Captain's gaze.
I work for whoever makes it back to shore.
Captain liked that answer.
Good.
He said.
Then we sail at dawn.
Drake exhaled, shaking his head.
Ain't even been captain for 5 minutes, and you're already picking fights with the whole damn sea.
Ravenna's gaze lingered on Captain, as if she was searching for something. Then she gave a slow nod.
Aye, Captain.
Drake nodded toward the docks.
You'll be wanting a ship then.
Captain followed his gaze. There, swaying in the dark waters, was a war frigate, its crimson sails snapping in the wind.
She was Crowley's favorite prize.
Drake said.
Vesperian built, fast as hell, and meaner than a starving dog.
He smirked.
Course, she ain't got no proper name.
Captain placed a hand on the ship's hull. The wood was rough beneath his palm, battle-scarred but strong.
She does now.
He grinned, tusks gleaming in the torchlight.
She's the bloody maw.
Rustwood Cove had belonged to Captain Crowley for 10 years. Now it belonged to Kaptin Tatturflagg. The camp was alive with drunken revelry, pirates toasting their new captain with stolen rum. Fires burned high, meat roasted over open pits, and the bloody maw bobbed in the harbour, waiting for her first true voyage. Rustwood Cove was unlike any other place in the world, a lawless sanctuary where the Empire's reach did not extend. Built from the wreckage of ships long forgotten, it was a twisting maze of docks, bridges and shanties, cobbled together from driftwood and stolen planks. The cove sat in a natural bay, its entrance hidden by jagged reefs that had claimed many an unfortunate vessel. Only those who knew the safe passage could enter.
Hold still, unless you want to start leaking again.
The voice was sharp, clipped, and entirely unimpressed with Captain's size or scars. He turned his head slightly to see the woman kneeling beside one of the wounded crew, pressing a strip of cloth against a deep cut in the man's arm. She was human, young, but not soft. Her sleeves were rolled to her elbows, revealing ink-stained fingers and a leather satchel stuffed with vials and bandages slung across her shoulder.
You a healer?
Captain asked. She didn't look up.
No, I just like patching up half-dead pirates for fun.
Hammerstack snorted.
I like her already.
The woman tied off the bandage with practiced ease and finally turned toward Captain. Her sharp eyes flicked over him, assessing.
You're not as bad off as the others,
she said.
Unless you've got something under all that grime that needs stitching.
Captain smirked.
I've had worse.
She shrugged.
Your funeral?
Hammerstack eyed her satchel.
You always carry that much with you?
Only when I expect people to do stupid things,
she replied dryly.
Which, seeing as I was on a ship full of pirates, is always.
Captain watched her a moment longer.
What's your story?
She sighed, wiping her hands clean on a scrap of cloth.
I was a town medic in Havenshire before the Empire took my family as collateral for some noble's unpaid debts. Ended up on a pirate ship after a bad deal went worse.
Her voice was matter-of-fact, as if she had already spent too much time resenting it.
Now I patch up men like you so I don't end up like them.
Captain nodded slowly.
You got a place here if you want it.
She smirked.
Long as you keep giving me idiots to patch up, I'm in.
Grit leaned against a battered support beam in Rustwood Cove's main hall, rolling a worn silver coin between his fingers. The firelight flickered against his scarred features, but his expression was unreadable. Calvin Drake sat in the shadows of the Cove's main hall, watching. Crowley had been a brute, but he had been predictable. Kaptin Tatturflagg? He was something else. Drake had seen plenty of men kill their way into power, but he had never seen an orc take a throne with as much purpose as Tatturflagg had. Drake had been part of Crowley's crew for years, not because he was loyal, but because it was convenient. He had no illusions about honor among thieves. He had been born into piracy, raised in the ship-breaking yards where only the sharp and the ruthless survived. Crowley had been useful, until he wasn't. And now, Tatturflagg sat where Crowley once had. The navigator, Ravenna, sidled up beside him, grinning as she sipped from a dented flask.
So what do you think of our new captain?
Drake smirked.
That depends.
On what?
Drake took a long swig of his own drink, watching Tatturflagg address the newly formed crew.
On whether he's got the stomach to be more than just another rebel.
Captain sat at Crowley's old table, a rough slab of driftwood in the cove's main hall, more a half-rotten tavern than a proper fortress. Across the room from him, Calvin Drake leaned back in a chair, one boot propped up, his flintlock pistol spinning between his fingers.
So,
Drake grinned, showing off his gold teeth.
you got your ship, got your crew.
He let the pistol click to a stop.
Now what, Captain?
The room fell quiet. Pirates turned from their drinks, their laughter dying down. They weren't just here to drink themselves stupid. They were waiting.
You really think this crew's gonna follow an orc?
Drake asked, tipping his head slightly. Captain leaned back, fingers drumming against the wooden table.
They'll follow anyone who gives them something worth following.
Drake huffed a laugh.
Fair, just don't expect them to throw themselves on a sword for you. Loyalty comes slow in these parts.
Captain's gaze flicked to him.
And you?
Drake shrugged, swirling his drink.
I follow the wind, and right now, the wind's blowing your way.
He took a swig, then leaned in slightly, his voice dropping.
But I've seen plenty of captains think they were different. Think they were more than just another name in the sand.
Captain held his gaze.
You stay long enough. You'll see I ain't just another name.
For the first time, Drake looked interested. Grit didn't say a word. He just kept flipping his coin. Captain's yellow eyes flicked to him.
You got something to say, old man?
Grit stopped rolling the coin, catching it between two fingers.
Just wondering?
About what?
Grit shifted his weight, meeting Captain's gaze for the first time that night.
If you know the difference between winning a fight and keeping a crew.
Silence spread through the room. Captain's tusks twitched.
You doubting me?
Grit sighed, slipping the coin back into his coat.
I've seen a lot of captains who thought putting a man in the dirt meant they owned his crew. Ain't that simple?
Captain leaned forward, resting his forearms on the table.
You following me or not?
Grit smirked slightly.
Ain't said I wouldn't.
But
I ain't seen enough yet.
Captain studied him. Grit wasn't testing him for the sake of defiance. He was watching, weighing, waiting to see if Captain was the kind of captain worth following. Captain exhaled through his nose.
Then watch close, Grit. I don't plan on proving you right.
Grit nodded once. He wasn't loyal yet, but he wasn't leaving either. Captain leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table.
I ain't Crowley,
He said, voice steady.
I don't sit in one place and rot.
His gaze swept the room.
We're taking the Bloody Maw to sea. First light.
The room stayed silent. Then a voice cut through the quiet.
You mean to say we sail without a course?
Captain's eyes flicked to the speaker. Ravenna. She stood in the shadows near the bar, a half-empty mug of grog cradled in her hand. Her salt-drenched hair framed sharp features, and her piercing blue eyes didn't waver. Captain studied her.
That a problem?
Ravenna took a slow sip.
Not if you know where you're going.
Drake smirked.
She's got you there, Captain, but we ain't got no food stores, no powder for them cannons. And these bastards?
He gestured to the pirates.
They don't row for free.
Captain met his gaze.
So we take what we need.
Drake's grin widened.
Now you're speaking pirate.
He leaned forward, lowering his voice just enough to make the others lean in.
There's a fat Vesperian supply ship run in the outer lanes. The Dawn Chaser, merchant class, heavy with trade goods.
He tapped the table.
She makes her run tomorrow, should be lightly armed.
Captain considered. It was perfect. A first raid, supplies, and a message.
You think she's light?
Captain said.
What if she ain't?
Drake shrugged.
Then we see how many of your new crew survive.
A small chuckle came from Ravenna's corner. Captain turned his head slightly.
Something funny?
Ravenna set down her mug.
You lot throw dice with fate so easily.
She exhaled.
Ships don't sail alone out there. If this supply vessel is worth taking, the Empire has eyes on it.
Captain leaned back.
You think we shouldn't go?
Ravenna met his stare for a long moment. She tilted her chin slightly, considering him.
I think we should see if the sea favors you.
Captain wasn't sure if it was a challenge or a test. He turned back to the crew. He rose from his seat, rolling his shoulders.
We sail at dawn,
He said, loud enough for all to hear. The room erupted into cheers. Rum splashed. Fists slammed against tables. Pirates were dogs, but they were loyal to their teeth, as long as their captain had the bite to back his bark. Ravenna's gaze lingered a moment longer. Then, with a slow nod, she downed the rest of her drink and stepped out into the night. Captain turned to Drake.
You coming?
Drake smirked.
Wouldn't miss it.
Tomorrow, the Bloody Moor would taste blood. The Bloody Moor cut through the water like a beast unchained. Captain stood at the helm, hands gripping the wheel. The salt wind bit at his scarred face, and the ship groaned beneath him, eager for a fight. It had been too long since he'd felt a deck like this beneath his boots. Not shackled, not a slave, a captain. But a captain was only as strong as his crew. Down on the main deck, pirates bustled about, checking ropes, securing powder kegs, sharpening blades. Some of Crowley's old men still watched Captain, waiting for him to slip. Kelvin Drake leaned against the mast, chewing a strip of dried meat, his single eye always calculating. And then a loud clang echoed from below deck. Captain sighed. Hammerstack,
Oi, Goblin!
he called down the stairs.
What in the hells are you breaking now?
Hammerstack's head popped up from the hatch, wild green hair even more unkempt than usual. His soot-smudged goggles perched on his forehead, and his long fingers twitched with excitement.
Not breaking, fixing.
He wiped his hands on his tattered coat.
Or, well, making better.
Captain folded his arms.
Better how?
The goblin grinned too wide.
Come see.
Captain descended into the gun deck, the air thick with powder and oil. Rusty cannons lined the walls, old Vesperian weapons, salvaged by Crowley but barely kept functional. But now, Hammerstack stood beside one of the broadside guns, a wicked contraption of gears and iron strapped to its base. A crank system.
Normal cannons take too long to reload.
Hammerstack explained, rubbing his hands together.
But this lets us crank it back into position faster.
He tapped the mechanism.
Means more shots in less time. Means we hit first and keep hitting.
Captain studied the rig. Goblin engineering was dangerous, unpredictable, and usually prone to explosions. But when it worked, it worked. He smirked.
And it won't blow us all to hell?
Hammerstack waved a hand.
Probably not.
Captain chuckled.
That's the best I'll get, ain't it?
Hammerstack grinned.
Yeah, catch on quick, boss.
Before Captain could respond, Drake's voice boomed from above.
Ship ahead!
The gun deck erupted into motion. Pirates rushed to their stations, ropes tightened, blades drawn. Captain took the steps 2 at a time, emerging into the daylight. And there it was, the Dawn Chaser. A sleek merchant-class vessel, its white sails bright against the dark sea. Fat with cargo. But something wasn't right. Captain narrowed his eyes. The ship was too calm. No sign of panic. No frantic crew scrambling to escape. Then he saw it. A shadow beneath the waves, trailing the merchant ship. His grip tightened on the wheel.
This ain't right.
He muttered. A voice spoke from the stern.
You're right.
Captain glanced back. Ravenna stood at the rear of the ship, hands resting on the railing, her blue eyes locked on the sea, listening. The wind shifted. Captain turned to her fully.
What do you hear?
Ravenna didn't blink.
The water's holding its breath.
Hammerstack muttered.
That's not how water works.
Ravenna ignored him. She closed her eyes, fingers trailing against the wood of the ship.
Something's moving below. Something that shouldn't be.
Hammerstack scurried up beside him, peering through a spyglass. His usual snark was gone, replaced with a cold calculation.
That's a military escort, underwater.
Captain's jaw tightened. The Vesperians had laid a trap. Drake cursed under his breath.
They knew we'd come.
Captain bared his tusks. Good,
Ready the cannons.
he growled.
Let's see who bleeds first.
Chapter 3. First Raid. The boom of the cannon sent a shockwave through the deck. The first shot screamed through the air, slamming into the Dawn Chaser's side. Wood splintered. A hole, the size of a man's chest, burst through the merchant ship's hull. And yet, no return fire, no crew scrambling, no panicked sails turning to flee. Something was wrong. Captain gritted his teeth, hands tightening on the wheel.
Drake, where's the crew?
Drake stood at the bow, spyglass raised, his face hardened.
There ain't one.
Then the water exploded. A dark shape surged from the depths. A vessel unlike anything Captain had ever seen. Steel-plated, low in the water, no sails, just a sleek mechanized hull, water rolling off its iron sides as it surfaced. Gunports slid open along its body. A submersible warship.
Brace!
Captain roared. The enemy ship fired. Cannonballs screamed through the air, hammering into the Bloody Moor's hull. Wood shattered. A broadside ripped through the deck, sending splinters and men flying. Hammerstack tumbled past, cursing loudly.
What in the seven hells is that?
New Vesperian trick.
Drake snarled, gripping the rail.
Didn't know they had these things in the water yet.
Captain bared his tusks. Of course they did. The Empire was evolving. The age of simple wooden ships was dying. But Captain... he wasn't ready to be buried yet.
Gunners!
He bellowed.
Hit the waterline!
The Bloody Moor's cannons roared in answer. The sea burned. Flames danced across the wreckage of the Dawn Chaser, thick black smoke rising toward the storm-darkened sky. The Vesperian submersible listed to one side, its hull riddled with holes, seawater pouring in. And the Bloody Moor? She was still standing, battered, bruised, but victorious. Captain stood at the bow, cutlass dripping red, surveying the ruined battlefield. His crew moved among the wreckage, finishing off wounded Vesperians, gathering supplies, dragging the few prisoners onto the deck. Hammerstack scuttled up beside him, grinning wide despite a fresh bruise on his forehead.
Told you the cannons wouldn't blow us up.
Captain snorted.
Yet.
Pfft, no faith.
Hammerstack wiped gunpowder from his goggles.
Worked, though, didn't it?
It had. The modified crank loaders had fired faster, hitting below the waterline before the Vesperians could react. The submersible's hull had been too strong for traditional cannon fire, but Hammerstack had been right. If they couldn't break it, they could drown it. And drown it, they had. Drake appeared next, dragging a wheezing Vesperian officer onto the deck. The man was soaked, bleeding, shaking with fury and fear. Drake shoved him forward.
One of their command crew. Might be worth something.
Captain crouched down, gripping the officer's chin between two massive fingers. The man flinched, but didn't break eye contact.
You know my name?
Captain asked. The officer spat blood.
You're filth!
Captain grinned.
You're a messenger now.
He hauled the officer up, dragging him to the railing of the bloody moor. Below, the burning wreck of the Vesperian fleet still smouldered.
Tell your king.
Captain growled, pressing his face close.
Tell him who sent you back. Tell him what he did when he shackled me.
He released his grip. The officer tumbled overboard, splashing into the wreckage-filled water. He would live, just barely. Enough to carry the message. Drake chuckled.
Well, that'll piss off the king real good.
Captain turned back to the crew.
We ain't running anymore.
His yellow eyes burned with conviction.
Vesperia put me in chains.
He slammed a fist against the bloody moor's rail, the wood groaning under the impact.
Now we take their ships, their gold, their lives.
A roar of approval thundered across the deck, a sea of raised fists and sharpened steel. This was just the beginning.
Hey, Captain!
Captain turned at Hammerstack's voice, brows furrowing. The goblin was standing beside a barrel of stolen goods, staring down at something, or rather, someone, inside it. A pair of wide, startled eyes blinked up at them.
Hello?
The boy said, looking far too young and far too clean to belong here. He grinned nervously, raising his hands.
Before you kill me, I'd just like to say, this is not what it looks like.
Captain crossed his arms.
Looks like a stowaway.
Right, okay. It is exactly what it looks like.
The boy admitted, wincing. Hammerstack peered into the barrel.
How long you been in there, kid?
Few days.
The boy muttered.
Maybe a week.
He scratched his cheek.
Time's a bit fuzzy when you're stuffed between crates of salted fish.
Captain sighed.
Who the hell are you?
Name's Ferris,
The boy said brightly.
though some folks call me lucky.
Hammerstack snorted.
Why? 'Cause you're still alive.
Ferris grinned wider.
Exactly.
Captain sighed.
And what exactly were you planning to do once you got here?
Ferris hesitated.
I hadn't really thought that far ahead.
Shocking.
Hammerstack muttered. Ferris raised his hands again.
Look, I'm useful, I swear. I can pick locks. Sneak around, Steal things. Very valuable pirate skills. Yeah.
Captain studied him for a long moment. The kid was trouble. That much was obvious. But something about his audacity reminded him of Hammerstack, just younger and dumber.
You're so lucky.
Captain said slowly.
Let's see if you can survive on my ship.
Ferris beamed.
Oh, you won't regret this, Captain.
Hammerstack groaned.
I already do.
Ashenport reeked of smoke and blood. The capital city of Vesperia never slept, its hunger endless. The great furnaces of the war machine churned day and night, vomiting soot into the sky, staining the horizon in shades of fire and iron. Factories clanged, soldiers marched, whips cracked. And at the highest point of it all, the black tower of King Ashen Fearweave. The king sat in the shadows of his war chamber, fingers steepled. His cold, sunken eyes flicked over the parchment in his hands, his mouth curling downward. A report. His officers were dead. His experimental submersible destroyed. His merchant vessel burned. And the name on every survivor's lips? Kaptin Tatturflagg. Fearweave's fingers tightened, the paper crumpling in his grip. A voice broke the silence.
So, the orc finally made himself a proper problem.
From the shadows, a man stepped forward. He wore a high-collared crimson coat, its gold trim faded, but still regal. His boots barely made a sound as he moved, a predator disguised as a noble. At his hip, a thin dueling saber rested against his side. But it wasn't the blade that made men fear him. It was his eyes. Dark, calculating, empty. Captain Vorik, Redbane. The king exhaled slowly, standing from his throne. He towered over Vorik, but it didn't matter. Vorik wasn't afraid of him. Fearweave extended the report with 2 fingers.
The orc is making a name for himself.
Vorik took it, scanning the details without expression. When he finished, he folded it neatly and tucked it into his coat.
I'll handle it.
Fearweave's lip curled.
You failed last time.
Vorik's jaw tightened just slightly.
I wasn't given proper resources last time. Give me control of the Iron Wrath, and I'll make sure your little rebellion sinks before it starts.
Fearweave considered. The Iron Wrath was a floating fortress, the largest warship in the Vesperian fleet. Unsinkable, armed to the teeth, a storm on the horizon. The king's fingers drummed against the polished wood of his desk. Then finally,
Take it.
a slow smile crept across Vorik's face.
The orc won't see me coming.
Finally, the king nodded.
You have it.
Vorik inclined his head.
I'll set a trap. He's arrogant now. He thinks he's untouchable.
He turned on his heel, already heading toward the chamber doors.
We'll let him think that just long enough to put a knife through his ribs.
Fearweave watched him go, his bony fingers tapping against the stone table. His sunken eyes lingered on the flickering candlelight, his mind already weaving the Empire's next victory. Tatturflagg thought himself a king of the sea. He'd learn. The Empire was the only crown that mattered. Days later, under the cover of darkness, the Bloody Moor glided through the waves, her crimson sails full of wind, her crew restless with anticipation. Another hunt, another prize. Captain stood at the helm, scanning the horizon. The merchant ship Drake had spotted was exactly where it should be. A lone vessel, drifting just outside Vesperian waters, fat and unguarded. Too easy. Captain narrowed his eyes. His instincts, the ones that had kept him alive long enough to become a captain, were screaming. Hammerstack perched on a barrel, flipping a rusted knife between his fingers.
You're scowling, boss.
Captain grunted.
Something ain't right.
Drake leaned against the rail, spyglass raised.
Looks like a ripe target to me.
It did. And that was the problem. Captain exhaled, flexing his grip on the wheel. If this was a trap, they had two choices: spring it or run. He wasn't built for running.
Bring us in.
The crew sprang into motion. The Bloody Moor adjusted course, angling toward the helpless merchant ship. Then, a low rumble rolled across the water. Captain's stomach dropped. That wasn't the sea. That was cannon fire.
Hard to port.
Captain bellowed. The ocean erupted. A broadside volley ripped through the mist, dozens of cannonballs screaming through the air. The first tore through the Bloody Moor's mainmast, snapping it like a twig. Wood splintered. Ropes snapped. The second punched through the lower hull, blasting a gaping wound in the ship's side. The Bloody Moor shuddered, knocked violently to the side. Pirates were thrown across the deck, some tumbling overboard. A deafening crack split the air as part of the railing sheared away, vanishing into the churning sea. Captain clawed for the wheel, dragging himself upright. His ears rang, his vision blurred. But he knew what he would see when he turned. And there it was, looming behind the false merchant ship, rising from the mist like a floating fortress. The Iron Wrath, Vesperia's greatest warship. Unbreakable hull, countless cannons, a full regiment of elite marines. And at its helm, Captain Vorik Redbane. His crimson coat billowed in the wind, his cold eyes locked onto Captain's ship like a predator who had finally cornered its prey. Hammerstack scrambled to his feet, blood running from a fresh gash on his temple.
Oh, that ain't fair.
Drake swore.
That bastard set us up.
Captain grinned, spitting blood onto the deck.
Good. Means we don't gotta waste time hunting him.
Another broadside thundered. The Bloody Moor was dying, but she wasn't dead yet. The Bloody Moor was bleeding out, sails in tatters, hull cracked, water flooding the lower deck. Captain gripped the wheel, his knuckles white. The Iron Wrath loomed ahead, unscathed, its cannons already reloading. Smoke rolled across the waves, the scent of burning wood and gunpowder thick in the air. He glanced at his crew, battered, bloody, but still standing. They weren't done yet.
Prepare to board!
He roared. If they were going down, they were taking the Iron Wrath with them. Captain gritted his teeth, shoving his weight against the wheel to keep the ship steady. The Bloody Moor groaned beneath him, her hull battered, her sails shredded. Another broadside, and they were done. Ravenna sprinted to the bow, wind whipping through her dark hair. She closed her eyes and hummed a slow, melodic tune, low and haunting, as if calling to something beyond the veil. Drake clutched a rope, his grip white-knuckled, blood running down his arm.
We can't take another hit.
No shit. A cannonball shrieked past, ripping through the foremast, sending splinters and rigging raining onto the deck. The ship lurched, the crew scrambling to stay upright. The Iron Wrath was closing in, her guns still hot, her massive iron hull cutting through the waves like a beast of war. Vorik was toying with them now, stalking them, letting them limp. waiting for Captain to beg. Captain didn't beg. His golden eyes scanned the horizon, searching anything. There, a wall of fog, thick and unnatural, looming just beyond the reef. It clung to the water like the breath of something waiting. The dead man's veil. It wasn't normal mist. Normal mist didn't move like that. It curled and twisted against the wind, tendrils stretching outward as if reaching for them. No horizon beyond, no stars above. Just an endless, pulsing grey that swallowed the sea whole. The crew stared. For once, they didn't joke. They didn't curse or grumble. Even Hammerstack had nothing to say. Ravenna stood near the stern, her knuckles white against the railing. She had been watching the veil long before anyone else had. Her blue eyes locked on the shifting mass ahead. Captain exhaled, planting his feet firmly against the deck.
Keep course.
No one moved. The bloody moor rocked gently beneath them, sails straining, ropes creaking. Drake was the first to break the silence.
You sure about this, Captain?
His voice was casual, but his fingers drummed against his cutlass hilt.
Ain't too late to change course. Maybe we can still outrun Vorik.
Captain turned, glancing back. The Iron Wrath was closing fast, a floating fortress of black steel and blood-red sails. They weren't outrunning anything. Captain faced forward again.
Ain't got a choice.
Drake worked his jaw but didn't argue. Others weren't so quiet,
This is madness.
muttered one of Crowley's old crew, a broad-shouldered brute named Cass.
No one sails into the Vale. Ships go in. They don't come out.
A few pirates nodded, shifting uneasily. One spat into the sea, another made a sign against bad luck. Hammerstack let out a nervous chuckle.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, actually. Maybe we, rethink? Just for a second.
He pointed at the fog.
That's the kind of place you go when you don't want to be found. Ever.
The veil seemed closer now, even though they hadn't moved yet. Ravenna finally spoke.
If we go in,
She murmured, voice quieter than usual.
it will see us.
That got their attention. Captain frowned.
What?
Ravenna didn't blink, didn't turn. Her fingers twitched against the wood, like she could feel something the rest of them couldn't.
The veil.
She whispered.
It's not just mist. It watches. It listens.
She finally turned, her face unreadable.
And it doesn't let go.
The deck fell silent again. Captain's gut tightened. He wasn't a superstitious man, but he trusted Ravenna's instincts more than he trusted the wind. He glanced at his crew. The hardened killers and seasoned pirates weren't mocking her words. They were scared. Good.
Then we better hope it wants them more than it wants us.
Captain growled, nodding toward the Iron Wrath. He grabbed the wheel.
All sails ahead.
For a second, no one moved. Then, the rigging groaned, the wind caught, and the bloody moor surged forward, straight into the mist. The last thing Captain saw before the veil swallowed them whole was the look on Vorik's face. The first time he'd ever seen the bastard hesitate. Then, misty darkness. Chapter 4. Ravenna's Secret. The fog was alive. It clung to the ship like a second skin, thick and unnatural, twisting and coiling as if it had a will of its own. The bloody moor drifted, her sails slack, her crew silent. No wind, no waves, only the creeping mist, and the hollow weight of something unseen pressing against them. Waiting. Something moved beneath the waves. Captain's knuckles whitened on the wheel. The iron wrath hadn't followed. Good. But that meant something worse. Whatever was in here scared even Vorik. A pirate stumbled back from the rail, eyes wild.
I saw something.
He whispered.
In the water.
Another scoffed, forcing a laugh.
You're seeing ghosts, you bilge rat.
A whisper curled through the mist. Not the wind, not the sea. A voice, software, hollow, endless.
Come down.
A scream split the silence. Captain turned just in time to see one of his crew lurch forward and hurl himself overboard. No hesitation, no sound. The water swallowed him whole. No splash, no struggle. Silence. Then,
That won't save you.
the voice wasn't coming from the fog. It was coming from their own navigator. Ravenna. She stood at the bow, her salt-heavy hair hanging damp, her fingers curled against the rail. Her body was still, but her lips barely moved, murmuring something to the mist. Her blue eyes were distant, unfocused. Listening. Captain's stomach tightened.
Navigator.
She didn't move.
Ravenna.
Slowly she turned. Her blue eyes glowed faintly in the mist.
I know where we are,
she murmured. Hammerstack's ears twitched.
That makes one of us.
Drake muttered a curse, adjusting his grip on his pistol.
Ain't natural.
Number. It wasn't. Ravenna exhaled, her breath stirring the mist unnaturally.
I've been here before.
Drake frowned.
You ever seen a ship come out?
Ravenna's lips curled, but it wasn't a smile. No. Captain's jaw tightened.
Then why are we still floating?
The fog coiled around them, thick as a living thing. The deck groaned underfoot, the wood damp with something colder than seawater. Beneath the ship, the Leviathan stirred, unseen but felt in every ripple that lapped against the hull. They had sailed into the Dead Man's Vale, a cursed stretch of sea where ships vanished without a trace. Maps marked it as an uncharted void, a place sailors whispered of in fear. Some claimed it was where the dead went to sail forever. Others said it was where the gods had drowned their enemies, leaving their spirits to wander beneath the waves. And Ravenna Tideborn stood at the bow, her fingers brushing the rail as if she could feel the heartbeat of the sea itself. She had always known she was different. Born in the drowned city of Nimara, she had been raised on salt and secrets. Her mother had been a siren, a creature of the deep who had forsaken the call of the ocean to live among mortals. Ravenna had inherited her mother's gift. She could hear the ocean's whispers, feel the tides as if they were part of her blood. She had kept it hidden for years, using it only when necessary. But when the Leviathan spoke through her, she realized something terrible. It recognized her.
I remember you.
The ancient voice rumbled through her bones. She shuddered, because she remembered it, too. Long ago, her mother had told her stories, whispers of the old gods of the sea, beings so vast and powerful that even the Empire feared them. The Leviathan had been the greatest of them, a force beyond mortal reckoning. But it had been betrayed, shackled beneath the waves, by those who sought dominion over the ocean itself. Now, it was awake, and it wanted her back. Captain's voice cut through her thoughts.
You know what's out there.
She met his gaze, her blue eyes glowing faintly in the mist.
I do.
She admitted.
And if we don't stop it now, we never will.
The mist tightened around them. A low, thrumming sound rumbled beneath the ship. Not thunder, not waves. Something breathing. The crew tensed. Ravenna finally turned back to Captain, her voice barely above a whisper. The fog thickened, coiling around the bloody moor like living tendrils. The ship groaned under its weight. The air felt heavier, thick, with something more than mist. Ravenna exhaled slowly, a pause. Then she lifted her chin, meeting his gaze.
I used to sing to it.
The fog shifted, not with the wind, with something moving inside it. The bloody moor shuddered. The timbers beneath their feet felt brittle, small, as if the ship itself understood the scale of what loomed beneath them. The whispers in the mist twisted together, forming a chorus of distant, drowning voices. And then the sea broke open. Something rose from the depths. It wasn't just large. It was impossible. A mass of midnight black scales, slick with seawater, breached the surface, rising higher than the masts, its form pulsing with a faint, eerie blue glow. Tentacle-like fins slithered along its sides, undulating like grasping hands. Then it opened its eyes. Not one, many. A cluster of glowing deep-sea orbs shifting and focusing, like a predator deciding how best to dismantle its prey. The crew froze. Even the most hardened killers, the most fearless pirates, turned to stone. No cannon would sink this thing. No blade could pierce it. It could swallow them whole. Captain forced himself to breathe, to think past the primal terror screaming at him to run. And then Ravenna exhaled sharply. Captain turned, just in time to see her body seize, her back arching unnaturally. Her fingers dug into the railing, nails biting into the wood. Her eyes burned blue. She spoke, but the voice that came out wasn't hers.
I remember you.
The words slammed through the ship like a wave, a deep, ancient rumble that rattled the timbers. Captain's stomach dropped. It wasn't talking to him. It was talking to her. Ravenna's breathing hitched, her chest rising and falling in uneven, shallow gasps. Her lips parted, as if she was trying to speak, but no sound came, only a strained, desperate exhale. Then barely a whisper.
I remember you too.
The crew stared, eyes wide, hands gripping whatever was nearest. Captain stepped forward.
Navigator.
Ravenna's glowing eyes snapped toward him. The creature spoke through her again, the sound rolling like distant thunder.
The song was broken.
A pause. Then,
Why did you leave us?
the words crashed over the deck like a wave, thick with something ancient and wounded. Silence pressed against them, heavy and suffocating. Hammerstack swallowed hard.
Oh, I hate this.
Captain exhaled slowly. He looked between Ravenna and the beast. The sea wanted her back, and he needed answers. He took another step forward, meeting Ravenna's unnatural stare. The glow in her eyes pulsed in time with the shifting mass beneath the water.
I don't care what you remember.
He growled.
I care what you want.
The ship groaned, the timbers creaking under an unseen weight. The beast's tentacles coiled tighter, slithering just below the surface. Then, through Ravenna, it spoke again.
A deal.
Kaptin bared his tusks. He never liked bargains. But this one? It might be the only way they survived. Kaptin inhaled, keeping his focus locked on Ravenna.
What kind of deal?
The sea shivered, waves trembling as if caught in something deeper than wind or tide. The ship itself felt smaller now, dwarfed by the impossible presence looming just beyond sight. The Leviathan spoke again, its voice vibrating through wood and bone.
A name has returned.
A pause, then
Vesperia.
silence choked the deck. Drake's fingers twitched over his pistol grip.
It knows the Empire.
Ravenna shuddered, her breath uneven as control fought to return to her limbs. Her voice, when it came, was her own, barely above a whisper.
They hunted it,
she said.
long ago.
Kaptin's jaw tightened. He'd heard rumors, stories of warships that never returned, of entire fleets swallowed without a trace. The Empire ruled the seas, but there were things beneath the waves they feared to name. The Leviathan's glowing eyes narrowed.
A name has returned.
Then the fog shifted. Ravenna's breath hitched. Her grip on the rail turned white-knuckled.
Something's coming.
Then, boom! The sea erupted. A cannonball screamed past, smashing into the water just off the port side. The bloody maw lurched, nearly pitching men overboard. Another thunderous boom. A second shot slammed into the hull, splintering wood, sending shards flying across the deck. Hammerstack scrambled to his feet.
Oh, come on.
The fog peeled back just enough to reveal the shadow looming behind them. The Iron Wrath. It had found them. Kaptin's tusks bared, his grip on the wheel tightening.
Vorik's got a spine. I'll give him that.
Drake cursed, shoving a powder keg upright.
We can't take another fight, Captain. We're barely floating as it is.
Ravenna exhaled sharply, her glowing gaze flicking back to the Leviathan.
It's waiting,
she whispered. Kaptin didn't need to ask for what. It wanted his answer. Would he honor its bargain? Or would he turn it loose on his enemies? Vorik's fleet adjusted course, the glow of their heated cannons cutting through the fog, ready to fire again. Kaptin grinned. He had his answer.
You want Vesperia?
He rumbled. The Leviathan's eyes burned, twin orbs of unfathomable depth, waiting. Kaptin turned back to the enemy warship bearing down on them, its hull slicing through the mist like a blade.
Then start with that one.
The sea itself roared. The Leviathan moved, not like a beast, not like a ship, like a storm given flesh. Its many eyes glowed as it uncoiled from the abyss, its massive scaled form shifting like liquid darkness. Water rippled in its wake, not with waves, but with the pull of something vast, something inevitable. For a moment, the Iron Wrath did not react. Then,
fire!
The command rang out across the water, sharp and unwavering. Vorik. The Empire's finest hunter had no fear, only orders to execute. The first volley ripped through the mist, iron and fire tearing through the thick air, aimed with precision. Cannonballs met flesh and vanished. No impact, no splinters of scale, no wounds. The beast did not bleed. Then it screamed, not a roar, not a cry. A sound that did not belong in this world. A sound that carved through the bones of the ship, through the marrow of men. The ocean itself seemed to recoil, a tremor shaking the very foundation of the sea. The iron wrath shuddered. Metal groaned as the hull buckled, warping beneath an invisible force. Sailors staggered, hands clamping over their ears as blood dripped from noses, from eyes. Some dropped where they stood, convulsing. Then came the wave. Not wind, not tide. The ocean rose at the Leviathan's command. A towering wall of water, black as the abyss, surged forward, slamming into the iron wrath with the force of a god's fist. The warship cracked, splintered. Men screamed, scrambling to brace, to fight back against the sheer force of the ocean itself. But the Leviathan was not finished. It moved. A shadow against the storm, its vast form surging forward, tentacle fins unfurling. Then it wrapped itself around the warship, like a serpent crushing a rat. Masts snapped like twigs. Sails tore free, flailing uselessly in the wind. The hull groaned, bending inward, crushed beneath an impossible force. Vorik's voice rang out, sharp even through the chaos.
Cut loose, full power to the engines.
The Iron Wrath's engines roared to life, the ship straining, clawing for freedom. But the Leviathan tightened its grip. The warship's iron plating warped, twisted inward like wet parchment. Captain watched from the bloody moor, fingers white-knuckled on the wheel. He breathed slow, measured. His crew, they weren't cheering. They were watching. Not like men who had won a battle. Like men who had realized they had made a mistake. Hammerstack swallowed hard.
Boss?
Captain's eyes flicked to Ravenna. She stood silent, watching the Leviathan with an expression he couldn't read. Her chest rose and fell in uneven breaths, but her gaze never left the creature. Then she whispered,
It's remembering.
Captain's gut tightened. The warship wasn't fighting anymore. The crew had stopped resisting. One by one, they abandoned ship, throwing themselves into the water, their fear stronger than their loyalty. The Leviathan had stopped attacking. Now it was just breaking, crushing, feeding. And Kaptin realized this wasn't about Vesperia anymore. The beast was free, and it wasn't going to stop. The ocean churned, waves rising and falling unnaturally. The Iron Wrath, Vorik's flagship, the Empire's floating fortress, the unsinkable warship, was being crushed like a toy in the Leviathan's grip. Metal screamed, wood shattered. The great coils constricted, wrapping tighter and tighter, dragging the ship deeper with each passing second. Captain watched, his grip tightening on the wheel. His crew stood frozen, their eyes darting between the dying warship and the shifting, hungry mass in the fog. The deal was done. The Iron Wrath was lost. The bloody moor rocked beneath Captain's boots, the mist thickening until it clung to the wood like a second skin. The Leviathan's eyes, clusters of glowing, shifting orbs, locked onto him from the depths. It waited. The bargain had been struck. But something wasn't right. Ravenna gripped the rail beside him, her breath quick and sharp. The eerie glow in her eyes hadn't faded. She was still connected to it. More than she wanted to be. Captain clenched his fists.
You got what you wanted.
He growled at the creature.
The the Empire's ship. You take that, and we're even.
A pause. Then the voice rumbled, not through the air, but through their bones.
The Empire is not what I want.
The words wrapped around him like cold mist, pressing in from all sides. The water beneath them pulsed, vibrating the hull with a force that made the ship groan. Captain bared his tusks.
Then what do you want?
The Leviathan's many eyes blinked, their glow intensifying as they all focused on one thing. Not Captain, Ravenna.
I was never yours to bargain with, mortal.
A cold weight settled in Captain's chest. Ravenna gasped, her hands gripping the railing like a lifeline, as if she were fighting to keep from being pulled into the sea. The wind tore at her hair, but she didn't move. Her breath hitched. The Leviathan's attention settled fully on her.
I remember you.
Ravenna swallowed hard.
I didn't mean to call you.
The sea heaved beneath them.
But you did.
The Leviathan's voice was a deep, rolling current, filled with ancient knowledge and something worse. Something hungry.
And you are not finished.
Captain took a step forward, his jaw clenched. He had faced slavers, empires, and storms that could snap ships in half. He had seen men gutted, ships burned, and felt his own life teeter on the edge of oblivion more times than he could count. But this was something else. And for the first time in a long, long time. Kaptin Tatturflagg wasn't sure if he could win, but he had never faced something like this.
You agreed to take their ship.
Captain said, forcing steel into his voice.
That was the bargain.
The Leviathan's coils moved beneath the water, a shifting darkness that made the ocean feel too small to hold it.
A kindness.
Its voice rumbled with something almost amused.
But bargains are not chains, little mortal.
Ravenna trembled beside him, her eyes shut tight, her knuckles white against the railing. Then she whispered.
It doesn't care about Vesperia.
Captain turned to her.
What?
Ravenna's breath hitched.
The Leviathan isn't hunting them. It's hunting me.
Her voice wavered.
It was waiting for something to bring it back.
Her fingers curled against the rail.
I was that something.
The realization settled over the ship like a lead weight. This wasn't just about vengeance. The Leviathan had been caged in the Vale for a reason. The Empire's crimes didn't matter. Only Ravenna did. The mist thickened, pressing in from all sides, wrapping around the bloody moor like grasping fingers. The ship groaned under the weight of something unseen, something hungry. Captain's grip on the wheel tightened.
Then we cut it loose.
Ravenna turned to him, her face pale as sea foam.
You don't cut loose something like this.
The Leviathan's eyes gleamed through the mist, endless and unblinking.
You cannot send me away.
The words slid through the air, thick as the ocean itself.
Not until I have what is mine.
Ravenna exhaled sharply, her pulse a visible tremor at her throat.
And what is that?
The creature's next words were not spoken. They were felt.
You.
Silence. The crew stood frozen, breath held, bodies locked in place, waiting. Captain stepped between them, his stance firm, his body square to the beast.
She's not yours,
he growled. The Leviathan's coils shifted, the water rippling in time with its amusement. And for the first time, It almost seemed to smile. It was waiting, and it wanted more. Ravenna swallowed hard.
It's not just a monster.
She whispered, her voice breaking.
It was a king!
Silence crushed the deck. Hammerstack paled.
What?
Ravenna's fingers dug into the wood.
My people, the sirens, we didn't just imprison it. We served it. We sang its will, guided its storms, kept it from devouring the world.
She looked up at Kaptin, her voice shaking.
That was our bargain.
Kaptin frowned.
What bargain?
Ravenna's eyes gleamed in the mist, haunted by something far older than herself.
The first humans to ever build ships. They couldn't sail. Not because they weren't skilled, but because the Leviathan ruled the seas. It tore apart their boats, swallowed their explorers. No one could cross the ocean, not while it was there.
Her breath hitched.
So they begged, they pleaded, and my ancestors, we answered.
Kaptin's pulse thrummed.
We forged a song,
she whispered.
One that bound it, a melody woven with magic, a lullaby it could never wake from.
Her voice broke.
We betrayed it.
The Leviathan stirred, the sea trembling beneath its weight.
It was not a betrayal.
Ravenna flinched. The voice boomed through the mist, shaking the ship to its core.
It was a cage.
The Leviathan's glowing eyes narrowed, its gaze locking onto her with the weight of centuries.
I waited.
The ship shuddered. Ravenna swallowed hard.
And now you're free.
A pause. Then...
Because you sang.
The words struck like a hammer, rippling through the ship, sinking deep into the marrow of those who heard them. Kaptin's mind raced.
The tune you hummed.
Ravenna barely nodded, her breath shallow.
It called to me, told me if I sang, it would save us.
Hammerstack looked like he was about to be sick.
Oh, shit.
Drake exhaled sharply.
So that's why it won't leave.
Kaptin turned to Ravenna, his voice low and edged with something dangerous.
It thinks you're still a siren.
Ravenna's hands clenched into fists.
Not just that.
Kaptin frowned.
What then?
She exhaled slowly, as if the words themselves might break her.
I think it wants its daughter back.
The ship rocked violently. The Leviathan was done waiting. Kaptin had fought the Empire, storms and men twice his size. But he had never fought the sea itself. And now it wanted Ravenna, and it would not take no for an answer. The sea held its breath. The Leviathan loomed, its massive shadowed coils shifting beneath the waves. Its eyes, burning clusters of deep sea blue, locked onto Ravenna with the weight of eternity.
You sang the song.
The words weren't spoken. They were felt. Thunderous. Crushing. Ravenna trembled against the railing. Kaptin stepped forward, planting himself between her and the beast.
She's not yours.
The Leviathan's coils rippled, its great body shifting.
She was never yours to claim.
The ship rocked. The air itself thickened, no longer mist, but something else, something ancient, something hungry. Ravenna's voice barely broke the silence.
It wants me back.
The Leviathan's many eyes glowed brighter.
I want what was taken.
A ripple passed through the crew. Hammerstack let out a sharp breath, gripping the nearest rope as if it could anchor him to something real. Drag didn't move, his expression carved from stone, his thoughts unreadable. Mira, who had stood silent through it all, muttered.
Gods preserve us.
Captain clenched his jaw, his grip on the wheel so tight his knuckles whitened. His ship, his crew. He'd fought to free himself from chains, to carve out his own place in the world. He'd be damned if he let some deep-sea god take what was his. But this was different. This wasn't a fight he could win with a blade. So he did the only thing he could. He bargained. Captain exhaled, stepping forward. The salt wind stung his scars, his tusks bared in defiance. He stared into the Leviathan's shifting, endless gaze and let his voice drop into something low, something steady.
You got what you wanted.
He rumbled.
The Empire's ship is gone. The sea's yours again.
A pause. Then the Leviathan's voice rumbled through the timbers.
I want more.
Captain nodded, slow.
I figured.
He squared his shoulders, his yellow eyes burning like fire against the mist.
You want vengeance? You want what was taken?
He raised his chin.
Then I'll give it to you.
The sea rippled. Captain's next words came with the weight of a storm.
I'll hunt them. The ones who betrayed you. You can't walk on land, but my crew and I can. The bloodlines of those who caged you. I'll drag their legacy into the depths and drown it. I'll carve your name into the bones of their kin. I'll make them remember.
Silence. The ship groaned beneath their feet, the wood straining under the weight of something unseen. Ravenna turned to him, her eyes wide. Captain! He didn't look at her. He didn't dare. The Leviathan's massive form uncoiled, its endless eyes flickering with something unreadable. Considering. Then, a laugh. Deep. Dark. Drowning.
A mortal makes promises to a god.
The words rippled through the sea, through the air, through bone and blood. A pause. Then...
Very well.
The mist thickened, curling inward, and then it moved. A tendril, dark, inky, ancient, rose from the abyss. Not flesh, not shadow, not entirely real. A thing between thought and form, water and void, slithering toward the deck. Straight to Captain. He didn't move, didn't flinch. The tendril coiled around his forearm. The sensation was immediate, like drowning and burning all at once. A deep, searing cold that sank into his skin, into his bones, threading through his veins. It was an ache in his soul, a weight in his chest. The Leviathan was marking him, binding him. Captain sucked in a sharp breath, his vision flashing black. Then, the pain was gone. The tendril withdrew, slithering back into the abyss. But it had left something behind. Captain raised his arm, flexing his fingers. His breath came slow, steady, but something inside him was different. A mark. A twisting, inky brand of a tentacle, coiling around his forearm like a serpent, sinking into his flesh as though it had always been there. It pulsed, dark and alive, thrumming beneath his skin like the tide itself. A binding, a promise. The Leviathan's voice rumbled through him.
You will be my hand.
The words echoed in his bones, in his blood. Captain could feel it now. Something vast, something old, something patient curling beneath the waves, waiting. Then the Leviathan's gaze turned to Ravenna.
She is spared. For now.
The sea swirled. The mist peeled back, retreating into the void beyond the veil. The ship groaned as the pressure lifted, the unnatural stillness fading. The Leviathan was leaving, but its mark remained, and its bargain had been struck. Ravenna let out a shaky breath, gripping the railing like it was the only thing keeping her upright. Hammerstack ran a trembling hand over his face, muttering a string of goblin curses.
Oh, sure, yeah, great. We just made a deal with an actual sea god. That'll definitely work out fine.
Drake exhaled, rolling his shoulders.
Well, at least it didn't eat us.
Captain lowered his arm, his voice quiet but steady.
Ain't over yet.
His pulse still thrummed. The brand still burned, an echo of something vast and unfathomable wrapped around his bones. He had promised vengeance, and the Leviathan would collect. Chapter 5. When in Ashenport. The fog loosened its grip, but the ocean still felt wrong. The bloody Moor limped forward, her crew silent, shaken. Even with the Iron Wrath gone, even with Vorik's fleet scattered, there was no cheer. Because the Leviathan had not left. It had only withdrawn. Captain felt it. Lurking beneath the water, watching, waiting for him. He clenched his jaw, staring into the black waves.
You keep looking at the sea like that,
Grit muttered.
it might just start looking back again.
Captain didn't glance over.
You got something to say?
Grit exhaled, the wind tugging at the edges of his coat.
I've seen men like you before, men who think strength alone is enough to keep a crew in line.
Captain turned, his yellow eyes narrowing.
That a problem?
Grit shrugged.
Not if you don't care what happens when you ain't the biggest threat in the room anymore.
Captain studied him, weighing the words.
You saying I should be afraid of my own crew?
Grit smirked, flipping his ever-present coin between his fingers.
I'm saying you should start building a crew instead of just commanding one.
The words sat heavy between them, swallowed by the waves. Captain crossed his arms.
You sticking around to see if I figure that out?
Grit exhaled, nodding slightly.
Aye, somebody's got to keep your stubborn ass alive.
Captain smirked.
Then we're in agreement.
His crew was still reeling from the fight, their nerves frayed from coming face to face with an eldritch horror. Mira moved through them like a ghost, tending to the wounded. Her hands smelling of blood and salt. For an hour, she had patched up pirates who had been thrown across the deck, her fingers moving with mechanical efficiency. Tear, rinse, stitch, wrap. But now she was watching Ravenna. The navigator stood at the bow of the bloody Moor, her hands gripping the rail, her face unreadable. The fog swirled around her, moving in a way that wasn't natural. Mira exhaled sharply and walked up beside her.
You're too calm,
Mira said, arms crossed.
Most people would be shaken after what happened back there.
Ravenna didn't turn.
Most people don't understand the sea.
Mira frowned.
Most people don't talk to it either.
Silence. Mira studied the other woman's face. Pale, too still.
What are you?
Ravenna's fingers tightened on the rail.
I don't know anymore.
Mira's stomach twisted. She had seen a lot of things on ships. Death, disease, madness. But this was something else.
You're not the only one who felt it.
Mira said.
Whatever you called, it's still watching.
Ravenna finally turned, her blue eyes glowing faintly in the mist.
I know.
Mira exhaled, rubbing a hand down her face.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. First time I take up with pirates, and it turns out we have actual cursed sea magic on board.
Ravenna's lips curled slightly.
You're handling it well.
Mira let out a dry, humorless chuckle.
You ever had to treat a man whose insides turned to water after looking at something he wasn't supposed to?
Ravenna hesitated.
No.
Mira nodded.
I have.
Ravenna's expression finally shifted.
And?
Mira stepped closer, lowering her voice.
And they don't come back normal.
For the first time, something flickered behind Ravenna's calm exterior. Mira shook her head.
You feel something pulling at you? You hear it calling you back? Don't answer, ever.
Ravenna held her gaze for a long moment. Then she looked back toward the sea.
I don't think I have a choice.
Mira exhaled sharply.
Then neither do the rest of us.
She turned and walked away, but she could feel it now. The air was heavier. The ship wasn't alone. And Ravenna was right. It hadn't let them go.
Boss!
Hammerstack muttered, low enough so only Captain could hear.
I don't want to be that guy.
You're always that guy.
Fair, but, you see the way the crew looks at you.
Captain didn't turn.
Like I got us out.
Hammerstack's voice tightened.
Number like you got us in.
Captain exhaled slowly. The Goblin was right. The crew had followed him into Vorik's trap, into the fog, into a devil's bargain. And now, they weren't sure if they wanted to follow him back out. The Leviathan wasn't finished with him. He needed to find a way to cut it loose. And there was only one place he might find an answer.
Set course for Ashenport.
Captain ordered. The crew stared. Drake scowled.
That's a death sentence.
Only if we get caught.
Ravenna finally turned, her blue eyes sharp.
The Empire still has your head on a list, Tatturflagg.
Captain bared his tusks.
Good thing we ain't going for the Empire.
Drake's expression darkened.
Then what the hell are we going for?
Captain rested a heavy hand on the wheel.
A woman who knows how to break a curse.
2 nights later, Ashenport. The city gleamed in the distance. Tall spires, black stone towers, fortified walls rising from the sea. Ashenport, the heart of Vesperia. Once docked, Ferris took his moment to slip off the ship and into the city's underbelly. Captain adjusted his stolen cloak, keeping his head low as he and Drake wove through the shadowed streets. The air was thick with the scent of iron and filth, the stink of too many people crushed into too little space.
Tell me again.
Drake muttered.
Why aren't we just sneaking into a noblewoman's parlor instead of getting into a bar fight?
Captain didn't answer, because he wasn't sure of the answer himself. But the name, Seraphine Ashvale, had come to him through whispers in the black markets. From men who traded in secrets instead of gold. It was said that the only way to find her was through her bodyguard Castra the Red. Seraphine was a noblewoman, close to the throne, a woman with power, a woman who dealt in forbidden knowledge. If anyone knew how to break a bargain with the sea, it was her. While Captain and Drake made their way to the tavern where Castra was fighting, Lucky Ferris was up to no good, which, to be fair, was his default state of being. He slipped between the bustling crowds of Ashenport's market district, his nimble fingers already picking their next target. He'd lifted a few coin purses, swiped a handful of trinkets. Nothing that would get him killed. At least, not until he bumped into the wrong man. A firm grip latched onto his wrist. Ferris's stomach plummeted as he looked up, way up, at a broad-chested Vesperian officer clad in a very expensive coat.
That yours, street rat?
The officer growled. Ferris glanced down at the ornate pocket watch now in his hand.
You know, I honestly don't remember.
The officer's face darkened.
Guards.
Ferris panicked. He twisted, slipping free like an eel, and bolted through the streets. The officer's shouts sent more uniforms chasing after him, their boots pounding against the stone. Ferris ducked through an alley, vaulting over crates, nearly slamming into Captain and Drake as he turned a blind corner. Drake instinctively reached for his pistol.
What the hell? It's the stowaway.
Not now!
Ferris gasped, already scrambling up a drainpipe. A second later, 2 Vesperian guards stormed into the alley. Their eyes flicked toward Captain and Drake. Captain casually leaned against the wall, blocking the drainpipe, arms crossed. The guards scowled.
You seen a street rat run through here?
Captain raised an eyebrow.
Street rat?
The guards nodded.
Young, fast, stupid.
Captain smirked.
Yeah, just went that way.
The guards bolted in the wrong direction. From above, Ferris exhaled in relief, peering down from his perch on the rooftop.
You, sir, are a saint.
Captain grunted.
I ain't, kid.
Ferris grinned, dropping down and dusting himself off.
Well, you saved my ass yet again, which means I owe you.
Drake groaned.
Oh, gods, please don't recruit him.
Captain eyed Ferris for a long moment. Then he reached into the kid's coat and pulled out the pocket watch Ferris had stolen earlier. Ferris froze. Captain smirked.
You want a job?
Ferris blinked, then grinned.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Not far from there, the war chamber had come together after a soulless survivor had returned from the wreckage of the Iron Wrath. The chamber of the Black Tower reeked of brine, sweat, and blood. A man knelt before the throne, trembling. His imperial uniform was tattered, one sleeve torn away, to reveal a severed stump where his arm had been. His face was a mess of burns and bruises, his breath ragged as he struggled to kneel properly. King Ashen. Fearweave observed him like one might observe a dying insect, silent, thoughtful, detached. The survivor's voice trembled.
The orcs, they...
Orcs did not sink the Iron Wrath.
Fearweave interrupted, his voice cold and sharp.
Orcs do not sink anything.
The man swallowed, his body racked with tremors. His eyes were wild, unfocused, not from cowardice, but from something worse. Fear.
It wasn't just them.
He gasped.
It wasn't...
His remaining fingers clawed at the stone floor as he forced the words out.
It was the Leviathan.
The war chamber fell silent. The air shifted. Even Admiral Varos, a man of iron discipline, stiffened ever so slightly. His eyes flicked to the Imperial Inquisitors who stood at the edge of the room, cloaked in crimson, their masked faces unreadable. Fearweave did not move.
Speak,
he commanded. The survivor exhaled sharply, his voice barely above a whisper.
The pirate, the orc, he made a deal with it. It was there, Your Majesty, in the mist, watching. And when the ship attacked,
His voice cracked.
it broke us, like a child smashing a toy.
He sucked in a breath, shuddering.
It spoke.
The candles in the chamber flickered. Admiral Varus scoffed, though there was a tightness in his jaw.
You expect us to believe an orc commanded a myth?
The survivor shook his head rapidly.
Not commanded, bargained. The navigator, the woman, they called to it, and it answered.
Fearweave's gaze darkened. The first inquisitor stepped forward. The golden mask gleamed under the candlelight.
You are certain?
The survivor barely managed a nod.
I saw it take the Iron Wrath. I saw its eyes.
The inquisitor turned to the king.
He does not lie.
Varos clenched his jaw.
Then he is delirious.
The second inquisitor spoke, their voice an eerie whisper.
We have always known the Leviathan was not dead.
Fearweave exhaled slowly, as if weighing the weight of the moment.
The beast belongs in the abyss. If it has returned, we will put it back.
The first inquisitor stepped forward.
It is no longer just a pirate hunt. The sea is shifting, Your Majesty.
Fearweave turned to Admiral Varos.
Double the patrols. I want every pirate den burned. I want Tatturflagg's head.
Varos bowed.
It will be done.
Fearweave then faced the inquisitors. His voice was low, but final.
And find me the navigator.
The survivor let out a soft, ragged exhale. Perhaps relief, perhaps exhaustion. Then, one of the inquisitors moved. A dagger, a single, clean stroke. The survivor crumpled, blood pooling beneath his body. Varos barely flinched. Fearweave turned away.
Burn his body.
The first inquisitor tilted their head.
And the Leviathan, Your Majesty?
Fearweave's sunken eyes gleamed.
If it can be controlled, it will serve.
He glanced at the blood cooling on the stone floor.
If not, then it will die with the orc.
A sudden gust of wind extinguished half the candles in the war chamber. The air grew thick, heavy with a strange perfume. Smoke, sea brine, and something sweetly rotting. She had arrived. The doors creaked open on their own. She moved like a shadow given form, her long cloak dragging behind her as she stepped inside. Seraphine. Her voice was like silk wrapped in steel.
Your Majesty.
Admiral Varos barely concealed his disdain.
We did not summon you, witch.
Seraphine smiled.
No,
she murmured, tilting her head slightly, her pale blue eyes gleaming in the dim light.
but you require me nonetheless?
Fearweave studied her carefully. Seraphine had long been a figure of uncertain loyalty. Not imperial, not pirate. Not even fully human, if the rumors were to be believed. But she had been useful. And Fearweave had no interest in wasting useful things.
You have seen something,
the king said, folding his thin fingers together. Seraphine grinned.
More than something,
she whispered.
I have seen everything.
The Inquisition shifted uneasily. They were accustomed to the occult, to dark truths and hidden knowledge. But Seraphine was different. She was not simply a tool of the Empire. She was a force of her own. Varos scowled.
You claim to know what comes next?
Seraphine moved closer to the table, her long nails gliding across the stone surface as if feeling the echoes of what had been spoken there.
The orc is coming,
she said.
Even now he sails toward me.
Silence. Fearweave's expression did not change, but his interest sharpened. Why? Seraphine's smirk widened.
He seeks a way to break his bargain and save the girl.
A few of the council members exchanged looks. Varro scoffed.
The fool realizes his mistake too late.
Seraphine chuckled.
Mistakes are what make men desperate, Admiral, and desperation
Her eyes gleamed.
is how we set the hook.
Fearweave exhaled through his nose.
Explain.
Seraphine leaned forward slightly.
You need not chase him. He will come to me willingly. All I require is your patience.
Varos frowned.
And you would simply hand him over?
Seraphine's smile did not fade.
I have no love for Tatturflagg. His destiny is not to command the Leviathan.
Her voice turned sharp.
But I warn you, if you simply wish to kill him, you waste a rare opportunity.
Fearweave raised an eyebrow.
You suggest we spare him?
Not spare.
Seraphine corrected.
Use.
The Inquisitors exchanged a glance, their golden masks hiding any expression. One of the Inquisitors spoke, their voice like the scrape of steel on stone.
We need only the Navigator. She is the bridge between the beast and the mortal world. Without her, the Leviathan drifts.
Seraphine nodded, her lips curving slightly.
Which is why you must reach her before the Leviathan claims her. The orc may be persuaded to save her, bent to our will in the process. But the Navigator?
Her expression darkened.
She belongs to the sea, and the sea does not forget.
Varos folded his arms across his chest, his jaw tight.
You propose a trap. What guarantee do we have that he will walk into it?
Seraphine tilted her head slightly, her pale eyes gleaming with something unreadable.
My dear Admiral,
she murmured.
I do not deal in guesses.
The air in the chamber thickened. A candle sputtered, its flame guttering as if suffocated by her presence.
I make certainties.
Fearweave watched her in silence, his fingers tapping idly against the armrest of his throne. He was weighing the truth of her words, calculating risks, outcomes, inevitabilities. Then he smiled, a slow, knowing thing.
Very well,
he said softly.
Set your trap.
Seraphine inclined her head in an elegant bow.
As you command, my king.
She turned to leave, her dark cloak sweeping the floor behind her. Before she reached the great doors, one of the Inquisitors stepped forward, their golden mask catching the dim light.
What is your price, witch?
Seraphine paused. A long moment stretched between them, heavy as the tides before a storm. Then, without turning, she whispered,
I will name it when the time comes.
And with that, she vanished into the shadows. As soon as the doors closed behind her, Varos exhaled sharply, his patience thin. He turned to Fearweave, his sharp gaze narrowing.
You trust her?
Fearweave's smile widened, a predator's grin.
No,
he murmured.
But I trust ambition, and for now, Seraphine's ambitions align with ours.
His gaze shifted to the Inquisitors.
Find the Navigator.
His fingers curled against the cold stone table, the tension in the room palpable.
And ready the men. If the orc is coming to the witch...
His sunken eyes gleamed in the candlelight, burning with something dark and inevitable.
Then we shall be waiting.
Chapter 6. Litigation. The tavern's air was thick with sweat, stale ale, and the unmistakable scent of blood. Pirates, mercenaries, and smugglers crowded into every available space, drinking and gambling beneath the dim lantern light. But their attention wasn't on their cups or their cards tonight. All eyes were on Castra the Red. The massive woman rolled her shoulders, tossing her thick braid over her back as she stepped over the unconscious fool at her feet. The fight had been over before it even started. Some drunken idiot had wagered he could knock her down in 3 punches. He hadn't landed one. Castra exhaled, cracking her scarred knuckles before grabbing her drink from a nearby table. She didn't gloat, didn't revel in the cheers. Winning was expected. Across the room, Kaptin Tatturflagg watched from the shadows, his golden eyes assessing. Drake leaned in beside him, keeping his voice low.
That's Castra the Red, former arena fighter. Fought for the Empire's amusement for years before she broke free. Now she sells her sword to the highest bidder.
Captain took a slow sip of his drink.
And she works for Seraphine.
Drake nodded.
For now, she's the only one who knows how to find Ashvale.
Captain watched as Castra took a long pull from her drink, her free hand resting on the massive iron cudgel strapped to her back. She wasn't just a fighter, she was a force of nature.
If we want Ashvale,
Captain murmured.
we have to go through her.
Drake winced.
You seen the size of her arms? That ain't gonna be fun.
Captain smirked.
Depends on what you consider fun.
Rising from his seat, he rolled his shoulders and made his way through the crowd. Castra wiped sweat from her brow and looked up as he approached. Her gaze swept over his grey skin, broad frame, and battle-worn tusks. She squinted.
You the orc that took Crowley's throne?
Captain smirked.
Aye, word travels fast.
Castra set down her empty mug.
The one you're looking for told me you'd be coming. Said I was to test you. So what's it going to be? You here to fight or just here to stare?
Captain shrugged.
Maybe both.
The tavern erupted into laughter. Castra raised an eyebrow.
You're bold.
I get that a lot.
She studied him for a long moment.
Seraphine said you'd be trouble. Didn't think she meant suicidal.
That mean I gotta fight you?
Castra crossed her arms.
Only if you want the location.
Captain grinned.
Then I guess we fight.
The room went silent. Castra sighed, shaking her head.
You got a death wish, orc.
Captain cracked his knuckles.
Only if I lose.
Castra exhaled sharply, then grinned.
All right, let's see if you're worth the trouble.
The crowd surged, dragging tables aside to make space. The air thickened with excitement, boots scraping against the wooden floor as men pushed forward to get a better view. Captain stepped into the clearing, rolling his shoulders to shake out the stiffness. Castra did the same, cracking her neck from side to side. She moved with the steady confidence of someone who had broken many men before him.
Ain't too late to walk away, orc,
Castra said, grinning. Captain smirked.
Wouldn't be much of a test if I did.
The crowd roared as the fight began. Castra struck first. She launched forward with explosive speed, throwing a devastating left hook that would have shattered bone if Captain hadn't sidestepped just in time. He retaliated immediately, throwing a hard right at her ribs, but Castra twisted, catching his wrist mid-air. Captain's eyes widened. She was fast. With a grunt, Castra used his own momentum against him, twisting her body and slamming him into the ground. The impact rattled the floorboards. The crowd roared. Coins exchanged hands as new bets were placed. Captain grunted, rolling onto his feet as Castra loomed over him.
You hit the ground quick.
she teased. Captain wiped blood from his lip.
Just getting a feel for it.
Castra laughed, then lunged again. The crowd roared. Captain rolled, barely dodging a boot aimed for his ribs. He pushed himself up, feinted left, and drove an elbow toward Castra's jaw. It connected. Her head snapped back, but she didn't fall. Instead, she grinned, wiping the blood from her lip.
That all you got?
Captain barely had time to brace before her fist slammed into his stomach. Air rushed from his lungs. He staggered, struggling to keep his footing. Castra didn't let up. A hook to the ribs. A body blow. Captain blocked where he could. But she was relentless. Stronger. Faster. She fought like a woman who had never been allowed to lose. A brutal knee to his gut finally sent him sprawling against the tavern wall. Blood hit the floorboards. The crowd roared even louder. Castra exhaled, rolling her shoulders.
You done yet?
Captain wiped his mouth, grinning through the pain.
Not even close.
She barked a laugh.
I was hoping you'd say that.
She rushed him again. This time, Captain didn't dodge. He met her head-on, ducking under her punch and slamming into her midsection. They crashed into a table, splintering wood beneath their weight. Castra groaned, momentarily winded. Captain tried to pin her, but she was already moving. With brute force, she shoved him off and rolled to her feet. Captain barely got up before she kicked him square in the chest, sending him crashing back down. His body ached, but he grinned anyway. Castra shook her head.
You're tough. I'll give you that.
Captain groaned, pushing himself up.
That means I win.
Castra let out a sharp snort.
Not even close.
She stepped forward, offering him a hand. Captain hesitated, then took it. She hauled him up with surprising ease. The tavern erupted into cheers. Coins exchanged hands as lost bets were settled. Castra crossed her arms.
Most men don't get up after I put them down. You might not be the strongest, but you're stubborn. That counts for something.
Captain smirked.
So I pass?
Castra studied him, then finally nodded.
You got heart, more than most in this pisshole city.
She leaned in, her voice dropping to a near whisper.
Ashvale's in the North Market District. Look for a vine-covered wall near the fish stalls. There's a passageway underneath. If you're smart, you'll leave her be. She always has her own motives.
Captain exhaled.
And you're just giving me this why?
Castra's smirk faded.
Because I hate cowards. And the Empire's full of them.
She turned toward the bar, grabbing her drink. Captain rubbed his sore jaw, glancing at Drake. Drake chuckled.
I like her.
Captain caught Castra watching him from the corner of his eye. He nodded once. She nodded back. The hidden door was easy to miss, tucked beneath creeping vines along the merchant quarter. A hooded figure waited for them. No words were exchanged. The figure simply opened the door. Drake sighed.
Yeah, this ain't ominous at all.
Inside, the air was thick with incense and old books. Candles lined the chamber, their flames dancing against polished obsidian walls. Shadows stretched unnaturally long, and at the center, a woman sat in a high-backed chair, draped in midnight blue silks, silver rings winding up her fingers like serpents. She smiled as they entered.
Kaptin Tatturflagg,
She murmured.
I was wondering when you'd come.
Captain tensed. Because he had never told her his name. He didn't move. The woman in midnight blue silks smiled, her silver-ringed fingers drumming softly against the armrest of her chair. Each tap echoed through the dimly lit chamber, like the slow ticking of an unseen clock. Kaptin Tatturflagg, she purred, savouring the name as if rolling a fine wine over her tongue. Drake shifted beside him, resting a hand near his pistol. His voice was quiet, but edged with warning.
Don't like that she knows your name, Captain.
Neither did Captain, but he wasn't about to show it. He took a slow step forward, adjusting his stolen cloak with practiced ease.
I was told you know things.
Seraphine's dark eyes gleamed with amusement.
I do.
Things about the Leviathan.
The amusement vanished. The air in the chamber grew taut, as if the walls themselves were listening. A subtle shift, like the stillness of the ocean before a wave crashed down. Seraphine tilted her head slightly.
So, you struck a bargain.
She wasn't asking. Captain's jaw tightened.
A mistake I don't intend to keep.
Seraphine exhaled slowly, her fingers trailing absently over the velvet folds of her gown.
The old gods of the sea,
she murmured.
They don't deal in mistakes, Tatturflagg.
His fists clenched.
Then you'd best tell me how to break it.
Seraphine studied him, her expression unreadable. Then, with the effortless grace of something that didn't quite belong on land, she rose from her chair. She moved toward him, slow and deliberate, like ink spilling across a page. Her fingers, cool and smooth, traced lightly over his scarred forearm. Captain didn't flinch, but something deep in his gut told him he should have.
The Leviathan marked you,
she murmured.
Not just with its favor.
Her nails pressed lightly against the swirling brand that coiled his flesh.
With its claim.
The room felt too still.
You're its tether now, its way back into the world.
Her voice was barely above a whisper, but it slithered through the air like a serpent.
You called it once and it answered, but next time?
Her smile was sharp enough to cut.
Next time, it won't ask. It will take.
A muscle twitched in Captain's jaw. Drake exhaled sharply.
Then cut the tether.
Seraphine's gaze flicked to him, as if acknowledging a child, speaking out of turn.
If only it were that simple.
She turned back to Captain, studying him like a specimen under glass.
It won't let you go without a price.
His tusks bared.
What price?
Her expression darkened.
A life.
Captain's stomach twisted.
Whose?
Seraphine smiled again, and this time it was something worse than knowing.
That,
she murmured,
depends on how much you're willing to sacrifice.
The chamber pressed in around them, thick, with the scent of old paper, incense, and something colder beneath it all. The weight of Seraphine's words coiled in the air like smoke. Captain's fingers curled into fists.
And who exactly needs killing?
Seraphine's fingers ghosted over the velvet drape of her gown as she turned toward the candlelit map on the far wall. A single silver-ringed finger traced a path, landing on a name.
A man who has outlived his usefulness,
she murmured.
One who has grown inconvenient.
She tapped the map. A location. A name.
The Lord Magistrate,
she said.
Edric Vale.
Drake let out a sharp, humorless laugh.
You mean the second most powerful man in the city?
He shot Captain a look.
Ain't subtle.
Seraphine's dark eyes gleamed.
Subtlety is for spies, Drake. We are not spies.
Captain's jaw tightened. He knew the name. Everyone who'd ever been under a Vesperian whip did. Lord Magistrate Edric Vale, the king's right hand. The man who had ordered the mass conscription of slaves for the Empire's warships. Captain exhaled slowly. Seraphine's voice was a whisper, but it felt like a dagger pressed against his ribs.
You want to break the Leviathan's hold? Then bring me the head of Edric Vale.
The candlelight flickered. The sea was not the only thing that demanded sacrifice. The one who had sent orcs, goblins, and countless others to die in the belly of an empire that fed on their bones. Captain's scars burned. Seraphine's voice was a silk thread winding tighter around his thoughts.
You hate him, don't you?
Captain met her gaze without flinching.
I hate all of you.
Seraphine's smirk barely flickered.
Then let me make it easy for you.
She leaned forward, her voice smooth as the dagger she would never need to wield herself.
You take his life. The Leviathan takes his soul.
Her fingers traced the map like a predator circling its prey.
And you walk free.
Captain let the words settle, the weight of them pressing against his ribs. A noble's blood for his own. An easy trade. Too easy. But what choice did he have? He exhaled, slow and measured, before turning to Drake.
We'll need a way into the upper city.
Drake ran a hand over his stubbled jaw.
You ain't gonna like it.
Captain smirked.
I never do.
Later that night, Ashenport's lower docks. The air stank of salt and rot. Captain and Drake moved like shadows, cloaks drawn low as they wound through filth-choked alleyways. Hammerstack trailed behind, muttering curses.
You're sure about this?
The goblin hissed.
Sneaking into the richest part of the city, wearing stolen uniforms.
Drake adjusted the Vesperian officer's coat. He'd borrowed, off an unfortunate drunk.
Would you rather walk in through the front gate with "Wanted Pirate Bastard" stamped on your face?
Hammerstack groaned.
Guess not.
Captain stayed silent. His mind was already ahead, on the estate, on the kill. This wasn't just a man dying. This was a trade, a debt paid in flesh. And somewhere, beneath the dark waters, the Leviathan was waiting. The magistrate's estate. The estate was drowning in gold. Not the kind pirates stole, the kind that built empires. Captain moved through the marbled halls, his stolen uniform a little too tight, the stink of Vesperia's wealth pressed into every stone. Laughter spilled from the grand chamber beyond. Music swelled, glasses clinked, voices rose in mindless celebration. A distraction. He kept moving. His hands ached for a blade. Drake's voice crackled in his hidden earpiece. A whisper-thin, enchanted link Seraphine had provided.
Guards patrol in pairs.
Drake murmured from the rooftops.
You got maybe 10 minutes before someone notices you don't belong.
Captain exhaled.
That's 9 more than I need.
He reached the upper floor, slipping through a side door into the magistrate's private study. The room smelled of old paper and power. And there, standing by the window, swirling a glass of wine, utterly unaware of his impending death, was Lord Edric Vale. The man was thinner than Captain expected. Older, too. The kind of important that made a man forget he wasn't untouchable. Captain stepped forward. His blade slipped free, silent as the tide. Vale turned, their gazes locking, and he smiled. Captain froze. That wasn't the face of a man caught unaware. That was the face of a man who had been waiting for this moment. A flicker of movement. Too fast. The doors burst open. Steel sang. Captain spun, barely deflecting a strike as another blade hissed past his ribs. Too many guards, too little space. A trap.
Ah!
Vale mused, setting down his wine with deliberate ease.
Right on time!
Captain snarled, throwing his weight forward, kicking one guard into another to break through the sudden wall of bodies. No room to maneuver, no easy way out. His earpiece crackled. Drike.
Tatturflagg, get out.
Then, another voice. Smooth, amused, unbothered, Seraphine.
Ah, Captain, you didn't think I would let you walk free so easily, did you?
Captain's gaze snapped to the doorway. And there she was, Seraphine Ashvale. Draped in her midnight silks, silver rings glinting in the dim candlelight. Watching him the way a cat watches a dying mouse. She smiled.
Vesperia thanks you for your service.
The air reeked of rot and rusted iron. Captain's skull throbbed, his senses dulled by whatever had knocked him out. The world swayed around him, blurred at the edges, like seawater filling his lungs. He tried to move. Chains rattled. His wrists were shackled to the stone wall, ankles bound just as tight. Heavy iron, no slack. The kind made for prisoners who weren't meant to leave. He exhaled slowly. Not the first time he'd woken up in chains. Wouldn't be the last. Footsteps echoed down the corridor. Slow, measured, heavy with authority. Not a guard, someone important. Torchlight flickered, stretching shadows long and jagged as a figure stepped forward. A man in blackened royal armor, lined with crimson silk. King Ashen Fairweave. His cold, sunken eyes regarded Captain with the apathy of a man looking at an insect under his boot. Captain smirked, tilting his head.
Didn't think you'd dirty your hands, Your Majesty.
Fairweave didn't smile, didn't blink.
You've been a problem, Orc.
His voice was quiet, measured, but it carried the weight of a falling axe.
A stain on my empire.
He stepped closer, stopping just outside Captain's reach.
You have cost me ships, men, resources.
A slight tilt of his head, a flicker of curiosity.
And now you've delivered yourself to me.
Captain's smirk didn't waver.
Funny. Ain't how I remember it.
Fairweave ignored the jab, turning with a slow, deliberate motion. He gestured to a waiting guard. The man stepped forward, carrying a small iron box. He set it down with a metallic clang, unlatched the lid, and opened it. Captain's breath slowed. Inside, resting atop dark velvet, was a branding iron. The sigil at the tip glowed, red hot, its twisted mark unmistakable. The king's mark. Captain kept his face blank, but his fingers curled into fists. He knew what this was. Not death. Worse. Slavery. Fairweave's voice remained calm, almost conversational.
I could kill you, of course.
He waved a hand lazily.
Or I could make you an example.
He stepped forward, voice dropping to something lower, something dangerous.
Break you. Send you back to the seas. Let every orc, every pirate, every rat see what happens when they cross me.
He reached for the brand. Captain's jaw clenched. Not like this. Not again. The door burst open. A guard stumbled in, blood pouring from his throat. Fearweave spun, and then came the explosion. Chapter 7. Let it burn. Fire, smoke, screaming. The dungeon walls trembled with the force of the explosion. Captain ducked instinctively as the blast ripped through the corridor, sending a hail of stone and dust cascading from the ceiling. The acrid scent of burning oil filled the air. King Ashen Fearweave staggered back, his regal composure cracking as he coughed through the dust. The iron brand he had so carefully prepared clattered to the floor, its glow fading amidst the chaos.
Get him out of here,
one of the royal guards bellowed, shoving the king back toward the exit just as the dungeon gate burst open. And through the smoke, a familiar one-eyed bastard emerged, pistols blazing.
Miss us, Captain?
Drake. Before Captain could answer, a smaller figure scurried in behind him, tossing another small, smoking sphere straight at the nearest guard.
Catch!
Hammerstack cackled. The explosion sent 2 men flying. Captain yanked against his chains, teeth bared, but the iron held fast. Drake cursed, reloading as he kicked over the branding box, scattering its cruel instruments across the stone. Hammerstack scrambled onto the fallen box, rummaging frantically through his satchel. Captain growled.
Gob, this ain't the time to loot.
I ain't looting. I'm saving your big grey ass.
With a triumphant chitter, Hammerstack jammed a strange metal rod into the shackles. A high-pitched whine filled the air. Then, crack! The locks snapped open. Captain lunged forward, shaking off the chains just in time to catch a guard's descending sword mid-strike. He wrenched it free, flipped it in his grip, and buried it in the man's gut.
Oh, I missed this,
Captain muttered, rolling his shoulders. Drake snorted.
We're gonna die in here, and you're having fun.
Always.
The smoke parted, and Fearweave's cold, sunken eyes locked onto Captain's. For a brief, deadly moment, neither moved. The weight of the moment stretched taut. Then,
Kill them!
Fearweave roared. The entire palace guard surged forward. Captain grabbed a fallen battle axe, spinning to Drake and Hammerstack.
Time to go.
Hammerstack let out a manic laugh.
Oh no, we're running.
And with that, they charged into the fire. Ashenport burned. Flames leapt from rooftops, turning the pristine white stone into a hellish inferno. The Bloody Morse crew had done their job well. Captain vaulted over a shattered cart, Drake at his side, Hammerstack scampering ahead like a rat in its element. Behind them, the palace gates crashed open. The city screamed,
There! Stop them!
Dozens of guards poured into the streets, their armor gleaming dully in the firelight. Bells rang from the towers, their shrill cries slicing through the chaos. Captain grinned.
Feeling nostalgic yet?
Drake panted, reloading his pistol as they sprinted down a narrow alley. Hammerstack let out a wheezing snort.
Yeah, nothing like running for your life through a city that wants to kill you.
They burst into an open square and skidded to a stop, surrounded. Guards on all sides, archers lining the rooftops. A commander in polished steel stepped forward, blade raised.
Surrender, pirate.
Captain exhaled, rolling his shoulders. Drake sighed.
Well, guess we're doing this.
Hammerstack grinned.
Always wanted to go out in a blaze of glory.
Captain bared his tusks.
Then let's burn.
The square erupted. Not with steel, but with screams. Not their screams. The cities. From the upper terraces, from the market slums, from the shackled work camps. Chaos exploded outward. The guards who had come to kill them suddenly found themselves fighting someone else. A brick sailed through the air, smashing into a guard's helmet. Then, another. Then a torch. Then a wall of people. The enslaved, the beaten down, the forgotten of Ashenport. They had been waiting. And tonight, they rose. Captain watched it happen in real time. One moment, they were trapped. The next, the guards were the ones screaming. Hammerstack laughed, manic.
Boss, did we just start a revolution?
Drake fired into the chaos, reloading smoothly.
Not our problem, move!
The three of them charged forward, cutting through the mayhem, dodging swords and leaping over fallen bodies. Captain shoved a guard aside, stealing a fresh cutlass from his corpse. And then, his eyes caught something in the firelight. A figure, fighting not far from them. Not a pirate, not a slave. Someone dressed in a noble's attire, but cutting through the guards with expert precision. Lady Seraphine Ashvale. Her midnight blue silks were streaked with blood, her silver-ringed fingers gripping a curved dagger. And she wasn't running. She was killing. Captain skidded to a stop.
What in the hells?
Seraphine's sharp gaze snapped to his. She smiled.
Hello again, Captain.
Captain didn't lower his blade. Seraphine smiled anyway. Around them, the riot raged, guards and civilians colliding in waves, buildings crumbling, torches setting the city ablaze. Captain exhaled slowly.
You should be running, Lady Ashvale.
Seraphine tilted her head, dagger twirling in her silver-ringed fingers.
Why would I run from something I started?
Drake cursed under his breath.
I knew I hated her.
Hammerstack gawked.
You started this?
Seraphine's smile widened.
Oh, dear Hammerstack, did you really think your captain was the only one playing a long game?
Captain's tusks bared.
You set me up.
She gave an elegant shrug.
I gave you an opportunity.
A guard lunged at her. Without turning, she sidestepped, slit his throat, and let his body drop at her feet. The firelight caught the sharp edges of her grin.
The people needed a spark,
she murmured, stepping closer.
You were that spark.
Captain's jaw clenched. She had known this would happen. Planned it. The assassination of Lord Vale. The riot. The collapse of Vesperian control over Ashenport. This wasn't about him. It was about the city. Drake's one eye was sharp with suspicion.
So what now? You kill us too?
Seraphine laughed, the sound smooth as silk.
Why would I kill my most valuable asset?
Captain bared his tusks.
I ain't yours.
She stepped closer, her voice lowering to a near whisper. No, she murmured.
But you will be, if you want to live.
The city burned around them. Flames licked the sky, smoke coiling like grasping fingers. The streets howled with rebellion, with freedom, with death. Seraphine extended her hand.
Decide quickly, Captain,
she said, her silver rings catching the firelight.
You're running out of time.
Drake shifted beside him, his hand hovering near his pistol.
Captain, I don't trust her.
Hammerstack snorted.
No one trusts her, but she's also not on fire, which is more than I can say for this city.
Captain's jaw tightened. He didn't like being used, didn't like being played, but he liked dying in chains even less. He grasped her hand.
Get us to the docks,
he growled. Seraphine's lips curled into a knowing smile.
A wise choice?
She turned sharply.
This way.
They moved fast. Seraphine wove through the back alleys like she had designed them herself. They slipped through the crumbling streets, dodging bodies, ghosts moving within chaos. Then, the docks came into view. And so did the problem. A line of Imperial soldiers stood at the piers, shoulder to shoulder, blades drawn. Their polished armor gleamed in the firelight. They were prepared, waiting. Captain's stomach twisted.
Looks like the Empire ain't letting us leave.
Drake muttered under his breath, checking his pistols.
Gonna be a right mess.
Seraphine exhaled, unbothered.
Then we'll just have to change their minds.
She raised a hand, and from the darkness, her own army emerged. Assassins, smugglers, mercenaries clad in noble silks. They had been waiting, lurking in the shadows, watching. Seraphine's fingers flicked forward.
Kill them all.
The docks exploded into violence. Gunfire cracked. Steel met steel. Blood spattered the wooden planks. Captain charged, cutting through the chaos, his eyes locked on the Bloody Maw's gangplank. One last sprint, one last fight. Then, a low, rumbling laugh. Captain froze mid-step. A figure stood at the end of the dock. A man in a tattered crimson coat. A sword gleaming in one hand. A dying soldier bleeding at his feet. Captain's blood turned ice cold. Captain Vorik Redbane, alive and waiting.
Leaving so soon, Tatturflagg?
Vorik's grin was all teeth, his blade lifting lazily.
I was hoping for a rematch.
Chapter 8. Poor, unfortunate souls. The docks drowned in chaos. Steel clashed, gunfire cracked. But Captain only saw one man. Vorik Redbane, alive, waiting. The bastard's crimson coat was torn and stained with blood, his sword still wet from its last kill. But it wasn't the grin that unsettled Captain. It was his eyes. Not rage, not vengeance. Something else. Something wrong.
You don't die easy, do you?
Captain growled. Vorik rolled his neck, shaking out his shoulders like a man limbering up for a fight.
Didn't have permission to die.
Then he lifted his free hand, pulled back his torn sleeve. And there, burned into his forearm, the same mark Captain bore, the Leviathan's brand. Captain's stomach turned.
You made a deal.
Vorik smirked, flexing his fingers.
The Empire doesn't take chances, Captain. Fearweave will gift me a king's ransom when I drag the beast to his feet and bring him your head.
But there was something in his voice, a certainty that felt too rehearsed. Captain narrowed his gaze.
That what it told you?
Vorik hesitated. Just for a breath. And Captain knew. The bastard wasn't in control. The Leviathan had chosen him not as a champion, but as a weapon, a pawn. And he was too drunk on ambition to realize it. Vorik's grip on his blade tightened.
Doesn't matter what it wants. I know what I want.
His voice dropped, quiet as the pull of a tide.
And I don't share power, Tatturflagg.
The dock flames flickered. The ocean churned. The Leviathan wasn't just watching, it was deciding. Captain bared his tusks.
Then let's see who it really wants.
Vorik's smile stretched wide.
Finally!
He lunged. Their swords met in a violent clash, sparks flying as steel scraped steel. Captain twisted, dodging a thrust meant for his ribs. Vorik was too fast, too strong. This wasn't just Vorik Redbane. This was the Leviathan in his bones. Captain ducked under a wild slash, driving his shoulder into Vorik's chest. The bastard barely stumbled, his footing unnaturally solid, like the sea itself braced him.
You feel it too, don't you?
Vorik murmured. Captain didn't answer, didn't need to, because he did. The ocean was alive. The waves shifted around them, surging in unnatural rhythms. The Leviathan was here, not in form, but in will. Testing, judging. And Vorik, blind fool that he was, thought he was the one pulling the strings. Captain met his neck strike head on, their blades locking. Vorik bared his teeth, their faces inches apart.
This ends tonight,
He snarled. Captain exhaled through his nose.
Aye,
He muttered.
it does.
And beneath them, the sea moved. A wave crashed against the docks. Not a natural wave, a pulse, a heartbeat. Vorik laughed.
It's choosing, Tatturflagg.
His eyes burned, unnaturally blue in the dark.
And it doesn't take two champions.
Captain bared his tusks.
Then I guess you ain't needed.
He drove forward. The ocean roared. And the Leviathan decided. The ocean trembled, not with waves, with will. The Leviathan was watching, waiting, and it was hungry. Captain locked blades with Vorik, their swords grinding against each other. Muscles burned, breath ragged. Neither man gave ground, but the sea didn't wait. The dock split beneath their feet, salt water rushing up like grasping hands. Captain staggered back, barely keeping his footing. Vorik? He didn't move. The water curled around his boots, but it didn't take him. It listened. Captain snarled.
You ain't winning this.
Vorik smirked, calm, knowing.
I already did.
Then the Leviathan spoke. Not in words, in force. The waves erupted, a pillar of water slamming into them both. Captain was dragged under, cold, dark, endless. The weight of the deep pressed against his bones. And then, something vast opened its eyes beneath him. The Leviathan was here, choosing. A voice, not spoken, but felt. One must be taken. Vorik was there too, drowning but untouched, his eyes wide, staring. For the first time, he looked afraid. Captain's lungs burned, his body screamed. Then, he made a choice. He reached for Vorik and dragged him deeper. Vorik gasped, screamed. The Leviathan took him. The water shuddered. The pressure lifted. And Captain broke the surface, gasping. The docks were in ruins. The bloody moor loomed ahead. His crew, his ship, waiting. Vorik? Gone. Captain didn't look back. He swam for his life. Captain's lungs burned. Salt water filled his throat. His muscles screamed, but he kept moving. The bloody moor loomed ahead, sails snapping in the wind. Figures rushed to the rail. Then, splash. A rope hit the water. Drake's voice, sharp and urgent. Grab the damn line! Captain clawed forward, seized the rope with the bloodied hands, and the crew hauled him up. His boots hit the deck. The ship rocked beneath him. For a moment, all he heard was his own ragged breath. Then Hammerstack's voice, flat with disbelief.
Boss, where's Redbane?
Captain didn't answer. He didn't have to. The ocean behind him was silent. No sign of Vorik, no body, just absence. Drake's single eye narrowed.
What the hell happened down there?
Captain exhaled, rolling his shoulders, his body still aching from the Leviathan's pull. He turned to the helm, gripping the wheel. As he did, his gaze caught Lady Seraphine slipping below deck. Their eyes met briefly before she vanished into the depths of the ship.
We sail. Now.
Drake didn't argue. He barked orders, and the crew sprang into motion. The bloody moor shuddered as its sails caught the wind, pulling them away from the burning city of Ashenport. Mira was at Captain's side before he could take another breath. She produced a sewing kit from her apron and went to work on his wounds, her fingers moving with the precision of someone who had done this too many times. Captain hissed as she tightened the stitches on his shoulder.
Hold still,
she muttered, threading the needle through his torn skin.
You move, you bleed more. You bleed more, you piss me off.
Captain gritted his teeth.
You always this gentle.
Only with idiots,
she shot back. Hammerstack snorted from the corner.
That means she really likes you, boss.
Mira didn't look up.
I don't like anyone. I just prefer my patients alive.
She tied off the final stitch and pressed a damp cloth to the wound. Captain exhaled.
You ever think about doing something else?
Mira stilled. Then she sighed.
Every damn day.
Then why don't you?
She looked at him, something dark in her expression.
Because I ain't good at anything else.
Captain held her gaze. Then slowly he nodded.
Guess we got that in common.
Nearby, Ravenna stood at the helm, staring out at the endless black horizon. The sea whispered to her. It always had. The Leviathan's voice still echoed in her bones. It knew her. It remembered her. She felt him watching her.
You ever get tired of running?
Captain asked. Ravenna exhaled, her breath a thin mist in the sea air.
I'm not running.
Captain snorted.
Then what do you call it?
She turned to face him, her blue eyes catching the moonlight.
Surviving.
Silence stretched between them, the sound of the waves filling the void. Then, in a rare moment of honesty, she asked,
And what about you, Captain? Are you running?
Captain didn't answer immediately. He looked out at the dark horizon, his thoughts unreadable. Finally, he murmured,
Maybe.
For the first time, Ravenna saw something in him she hadn't expected. Doubt. She nodded, as if she understood.
Then maybe we both need to stop.
Captain huffed a quiet laugh.
Maybe.
Behind them, Ashenport burned. The city was in chaos, the Empire scrambling. But it wouldn't last. They'd come for him. They always did. Ravenna spoke.
You did it.
Kaptin flexed his fingers. The mark on his skin still tingled.
Did I?
She turned to him, studied him. Then, a small, knowing smile.
Guess we'll find out.
Ferris whistled as he sat on a crate, flipping a stolen gold coin between his fingers.
You know,
Ferris mused.
for a bunch of murderers, pirates are surprisingly predictable.
Kaptin grunted from the helm, watching the crew settle into their usual chaos.
That's so?
Ferris grinned.
Oh, aye. You got one lot that just likes the fightin', one lot that just likes the money, and one lot that just likes the rum.
Kaptin smirked.
And which one are you?
Ferris flashed his biggest, dumbest grin.
I like all three.
Hammerstack groaned.
God's help us. We've adopted him.
Drake exhaled, shaking his head.
Figures.
Kaptin chuckled. Then reached into his coat and tossed something toward Ferris. The thief barely caught it before realizing what it was. A folded scrap of parchment. Ferris frowned.
What's this?
Your payment for what you managed to steal for me.
Kaptin said.
Assuming you got it?
Ferris smirked, presenting a small wooden box with a dramatic flourish.
Please. What am I? An amateur? Wait.
His grin widened as realization struck.
Are you?
Recruiting you.
Kaptin interrupted.
You work for me now. Officially.
Ferris stared for half a second before his smirk returned sharper than ever.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
The bloody maw cut through the waves, vanishing into the dark horizon. And far beneath the surface, watching, waiting, the Leviathan stirred.